What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
6LF. Chapter 104. Vampires Under the Blood Moon, Allenby's Baroric. Earthquake. Lion Majesty Empty Scroll. Newgate stepped out suddenly, clenched his fist with one hand, and smashed down with an astonishing punch. In an instant, it was like the sky was shattering, the atmosphere exploded in an instant, and everything was shattered in an instant, and all this happened. It's too fast. Almost in an instant, and in that instant, Shiki raised his hand as well. The clouds in the air were directly controlled by Shiki, and a large number of clouds turned into roaring lion heads. These roaring lion heads were wrapped around armament hockey and smashed against Newgate. Down. Boom. The offensive of the two exploded in an instant, and everything around them was destroyed at this moment. Boom. Boom. Goo la la la. Gia ha 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 ha. The two looked at each other, and both of them burst out with excitement and laughter, but the next moment, the two of them looked at each other with sharp eyes, and that pair of terrifying killing intent was full of endless terror. Bring it on. Go on. 35. The eyes of the two who are like evil spirits are staring at each other, the next moment. Kong Cloud Cut. Air Shock Cut. Newgate held the Kong Yunchi, and the whole person's breath burst out with endless terrifying air waves, like a churning tyrant, rising into the sky in an instant, and all this happened so fast, just in this moment. A knife has fallen. Lion Katakana Middle. Thousand Slice Valley. Joke. If Shiki couldn't deal with such an attack, then it would be better to die. Shiki soared into the sky, and the same attack fell directly. Moment. Everything seemed to explode at this moment, and the terrifying offensive of the two broke apart in an instant. All this broke out too fast, in a short period of time. The terrifying explosion, it was shattered, and the surroundings seemed to be swallowed up in a sudden smash. But all this is not over yet. The two quickly backed away, the next moment. Go straight to each other again. Crackling. Crackling. A Kong Yunchi, one of the 12 masters of the Supreme Sword. A Sakura 10 and Deadwood holding a large sharp knife 21 work too. The three famous knives are covered with armament hockey and wrapped around Conqueror's hockey, but they are intertwined again and again in midair, and this speed is too fast. Under the collision again and again, the amazing speed makes people feel it's all utterly terrifying. Bump. Bump. The collision between the two was extremely fierce, after all. With the strength of these two guys, they were really like two terrifying evil spirits. In just 880 hours, the power that erupted out of them only made people feel endless fear. Goo la la la. Newgate laughed majestically and said, Shiki. You guy, your strength is pretty good. Gia ha 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 ha. Shiki floated in the air, and the corners of his mouth grinned grimly. Hey. Hey, don't look down on people. Isn't my strength weak? You bastard. You guy, you're not worth mentioning at all. Ah, I killed you. Come. The two people's sharp eyes are staring at each other. The next moment, they looked at each other and smiled, but they went straight to each other with even more terrifying power. Under that amazing speed, it brought an extremely fast offensive. Crackling. The two quickly fought again, not just on the side of the two, but in other places. The fierce battle also kicked off in an instant. What will this terrifying battle bring? In fact, it has already been. It is self-evident. Boom. Boom. Listening to the roaring sound in his ears, Alan was very calm, but he thought secretly in his heart. The second child is fighting with that guy Shiki, and the third is fighting with that crazy woman Linlin. If you do the math, there is only one person left on this island. Alan, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Following this calm voice, Alan stopped and stood on the top of a big tree. He was dressed in an elegant suit and held a bad umbrella. He was as elegant as a nobleman. And who was this man? It was Baroric Redfield, right now. Seeing Alan coming, Baroric jumped down and landed on the ground with a calm expression. Alan. Just as I guessed, you came to me and became mine opponent. Ha ha ha. Alan laughed and said, isn't this a matter of course? Otherwise, can the crap stop me? It's like a joke. Then, next, Baroric. This is your battle with me. Ah. What? Baroric's eyes were also full of terrifying killing intent, and the auras of the two were very terrifying, even to say. At this moment, both of them were staring at each other, and a terrifying killing intent was burst out. But these two people will not have any mercy, to be precise. These two people are simply impossible to show mercy. Alan and Baroric are both waiting for this battle AGFJ. Last time. But it was really more than 10 years ago, or even 10 years ago. The strength of the two of them at that time was simply not worth mentioning. In today's battle, the strength of these two people has been greatly improved. Huge improvement. There is only one result today, that is to completely crush and defeat the opponent. Only in this way, this is the most important. Snapped. As soon as he stepped out, Baroric's speed was too fast. Like an afterimage, the bad umbrella in his hand was covered with the pitch-black armament hockey. Like an afterimage, it swept and fell directly. Bump. Alan raised an arm, also covered by armament hockey, blocking Baroric's blow. Alan felt the severe pain, not only was not annoyed, but the corners of his mouth grinned, and he said with great excitement, but it's really exciting. Such power. But it's really scary. Search. Licking the corner of his mouth slightly, Alan's killing intent is so terrifying, so many years have passed. Sure enough, Baroric's strength has grown almost geometrically, and even the horror has reached an ultimate. He. Baroric took back the bat umbrella, as if everything just happened was like a joke, the corners of his mouth twitched, and he said lightly, sure enough. Alan, you can't underestimate this guy. Your strength is indeed enough. Amazing and terrifying. Alan said very indifferently, isn't this a matter of course? I don't need any nonsense to be strong. However, Baroric, it seems that in today's battle, you are the loser. Yes. Baroric was very calm, jumped up, and the figure had returned to the top of the tree again, the next moment. A terrifying breath emerged, and a pair of jet black wings emerged from Baroric's back. It's not wings, but the kind of fleshy wings that are completely like bat wings, giving people a terrifying feeling. Not only that. Baroric's eyes became blood red, and his skin seemed to become even more pale now, the ears gradually became sharper, the sharp teeth grew, and the nails of the 10 fingers also got a terrifying extension, along with the bloody moonlight that seemed to be rendered in the sky. It was so impressive to horror. That's why Baroric Redfield joined the Rocks Pirate. Bat fruit, phantom species, vampire form. A very terrifying, even a devil fruit that everyone is pursuing, because this devil fruit can keep people young forever, of course. This devil fruit will not make you immortal of. Even if you want to not die, your life will still reach its limit. Many people are like this. They are strong, but they still have to die. That's the root cause, but what else? The most root of all. The Baloric family has its own problems. Bat fruit, phantom beast, vampire form. The corners of Alan's mouth twitched, and he said interestingly, if I remember correctly, Baroric, you chose to join the Rocks Pirate because of this devil fruit, right? Good. Baloric said very calmly. For me, the importance of this devil fruit is beyond doubt. Actually, there are some words that Baroric did not say, and that outsiders do not know. This devil fruit belonged to the Baloric family in a very early time. The elders of their family ate this devil fruit and finally became a noble in the southern and northern wars and owned a site like Bat Island. So say it. Don't think that Baroric is pretending to be a nobleman, but in fact his family is really a nobleman. Although it is said that for the strong, these are meaningless. But one thing has been proved, the strength of Baroric is really not weak. This is absolutely beyond doubt, it is fundamental, there is no need to doubt, or rather. Baroric's strength is really terrifying. Only, this family has a problem. At the age of 40, the body will age rapidly, almost in a short period of time, it will age to the state of 70 or 80, or even continue to age until death. This is absolutely unnecessary. Doubtful things. But because of this, the Barloric family has always been looking for this devil fruit, because this devil fruit can keep its youth forever, which is why, at the invitation of Captain Rocks, almost Barloric has nothing. Hesitant to agree. This devil fruit represents a completely different meaning to the Barloric family. Who slightly let out a sigh of turbidity. Barloric was very calm, and said lightly, Alan. Next, everything is about to begin. 35. What? The corners of Alan's mouth twitched, and he said interestingly, I also want to see how strong your strength is. Roar. Accompanied by this terrifying roar, Alan's body was burning with scorching flames, and the flames that were ready to be monstrous seemed to burn everything up, and endless heat waves were churning. Boom. All of a sudden, the two figures disappeared in an instant. Alan's speed was very fast, after all. That was the speed of the rabbit charm. But the next moment, the speed that Baroric showed was the same horror, as if it seems that the speed of an afterimage cannot be said to keep up with Alan's speed, but it will definitely not suffer so much. Oh, Alan's smile was unusually strong, and he said interestingly, sure enough. Baloric, your strength is really strong. Laozi, this is the first time in so many years that he can match Laozi on the 4th degree. People. Crackling. Jingle jingle. The speed of the fight between the two was too fast, and in this short period of time, under such a fast speed, the two seemed to have swallowed everything up in an instant, and everything around them exploded in an instant. This speed is really too fast, so fast that people can't even notice it. Snapped. Boom. Like two afterimages, Alan and Baroric flew out at the same time, then turned around in midair, forcibly stopped their figure. The two stopped at the same time, and looked at each other with sharp eyes, as if what are you thinking about? Humph. A smile appeared at the corners of their mouths, and the corners of their mouths twitched, and they went straight to each other again. Roar. 35. Dragon blast. Electric eye burst. Blood torn. Facing the 3 shock waves that burst out directly from Alan, but the next moment, Baroric raised his hand, and the blood poured out directly, turning into 2 huge claws and tearing Alan directly. Attack. Blood. This is one of the abilities of Baroric, or rather, this is one of the fundamental abilities of the vampire fruit. There are no real people. In addition to absorbing blood to make oneself young, the vampire fruit is also no effect whatsoever. Stop it. That is simply impossible. Each devil fruit is very special, even the power contained in each devil fruit is very strange, there is so easily the power of the master. If it were really that easy, that would be the strangest thing. And because of this, at this moment, under such power, the blood that burst out from Baroric has completely wrapped Alan in it from all directions. Only, Alan was not afraid at all, instead he grinned and said confidently, with such a power, do you want to devour me? Stop making trouble, it's such an easy thing there. Ha ha ha. With such crazy laughter, Alan clenched his fists with both hands, the monstrous flames were burning, the next moment his eyes shrank, a terrifying impact burst and fell in an instant, and the monstrous flames had gradually swallowed everything up. As usual. Destroy. 35. Dragon Fist. 35. Clenching fists with both hands, the monstrous flames rushed into the blood instantly. Stab it. Stab it. With this harsh sound, followed by a pungent smell emerges, Alan is in the center of it all, with heat waves burning around him, like a terrifying monster, but the corners of his mouth are grinning. Next moment. Wow. The earth was torn apart suddenly, and the soil thorns pierced directly out, trying to penetrate Baroric directly. And Baroric's reaction speed is naturally extremely fast. He swiped with one hand, holding a bad umbrella, and swept everything in an instant, and as all this came to an end, Baroric's eyes very indifferent, calmly said, sure enough. Alan, your ability is very special, and no one has studied what it is so far. Huh. 35. The corners of Alan's mouth twitched, and he said interestingly, then. Come on, Baroric, can you guess what my abilities are? What is it then? Ha ha ha. Alan was laughing excitedly, while Baroric said casually, probably can guess a part of your ability. But because of this, it will feel very strange, your ability is too great so much that it doesn't seem like Devil Fruit's ability. 99. But, this kind of change is special. It seems to be the ability of Devil Fruit. It seems that the source is indeed flame, it seems. Your essence is also a power similar to Devil Fruit. Baroric analyzed very calmly, but he did not know that what he analyzed was very close to the truth. P.S. 5,000 word chapter. Daily 6 updates. Second update. Please subscribe. Please customize. Please collect. Chapter 105. The only remaining 3 Edward brothers. The 3 brothers who fought for the first time. Tick-tock. Tick-tock. The blood dripped on the ground, but Newgate didn't care about his injuries at all. Still Haki looked at Shiki with full eyes, and said proudly, Shiki. You don't seem to be my opponent. Who? Shiki spit out a mouthful of blood, but shouted without fear, Newgate. Who are you looking down on, you bastard? Would you be my opponent? Goo la la la. Then try it out. Newgate didn't care about his injuries at all. Holding Kong Yunchi, he walked straight to Shiki step by step, looking at Shiki floating in the air, he lifted Kong Yunchi from top to bottom and fell instantly. Kong Cloud cut. Air shock cut. But in this instant, a terrifying shock wave-like slash fell directly, this force is too terrifying. The invincible force seems to tear the sky apart. As the saying goes, there seems to be nothing wrong with the 4 emperors fighting to tear the sky, and Newgate and Shiki's current strength may still be different from the real 4 emperors period, but these 2 guys are not weak, and it's terrifyingly terrifying. Jia ha 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 ha. Newgate, you bastard, are you looking down on Laozi? Lion Majesty Zanju. With Shiki's roar, an invincible force erupted in an instant, holding a knife in both hands, countless slashes fell crazily, in an instant. The monstrous slashes that destroyed everything appeared, and this everything is too fast, in this short period of time. It turned out to be a lion constructed entirely from slashing. Roar. The lion roared up to the sky, and accompanied by this monstrous air wave, it seemed that it was going to swallow everything up, but this was really too fast, to the extent that it was too late for people to notice it. It was in this instant that everything seemed to have returned to silence. Can. 6699. Ha. Ha. In the silence, both Newgate and Shiki were gasping for breath, and their faces were not good looking, after all. Although the battle did not last long, it was a consumption of their own. But it is very terrifying, this is not a joke, but a huge consumption of real. However, Newgate clenched the Kong Yunchi in his hand and said seriously, Shiki. This battle was won by Laozi, have you reached your limit? In that case, Laozi is welcome. Snapped. Snapped. Newgate walked towards Shiki step by step, each step was so firm, but the power contained in each step was so terrifying, that it was beyond words to describe firmness and courage. Cough cough cough. Shiki coughed slightly weakly, and he looked at Newgate who came straight to him step by step, although he said. Still going step by step. You guy. Bah. 5. Spitting out a mouthful of blood, Shiki looked at this guy Newgate, but in the end he left without looking back, there is no need. This is the end of the battle, if you continue to entangle, even if you can win. Do not. Shiki knew that if he continued to entangle him, he would not be able to win. His physical strength was indeed much scarcer than that of Newgate, and what's more, Newgate was obviously trying his best. If it were to continue. Do not. Do not. There's no need to keep going, desperate. Shiki doesn't need to be desperate at all, it's nothing at all, and it's not a big deal anyway. If that's the case, then it's good to go. That's the end of it. Shiki left unceremoniously, and looking at Shiki who was leaving, Newgate sat down with his hips cross-legged, panting heavily, and murmured, "This is the end for me, eldest brother and old man." What happened to the third? Bump, bump. On the other side of the island, the battlefield continues. Linlin and Kaido are fighting. Kaido, who is holding a mace, faces Linlin, who is holding a Napoleon sword. It has the meaning of directly beheading the opponent. And under such a terrifying offensive, the power that erupted is naturally beyond doubt. Emperor Sword, Broken Blade. 35. King Kong Dysprosium. Under the extremely fast speed, facing the flame slash that burst out from Linlin's blow, Kaido was also not afraid at all, and when he raised his hand, the aura of a mace burst out directly. Boom. As the roar resounded, the two of them stepped back at the same time, their breaths seemed to have returned to silence, and the two stared at each other. Worororo. Momomomom. Kaido and Linlin both laughed at the same time, but the more they laughed, the more terrifying their breath became. Kaido, Linlin, if Newgate, Shiki, Akoku, John, Silver Axe, Barorik, etc., they use their brains more often. Well, these two guys are completely different, these two guys in the battle, it is a pure lunatic, the kind of terror to ultimate, but pure lunatic. The two looked at each other sharply, as if the terrifying killing intent was about to burst out, and the terrifying conquerors' haki were colliding frantically. Crackling, crackling, one after another, dark purple air currents spread out towards the surroundings, and the collision of the two's conquerors' haki has formed a substantial air current, and under such a terrifying collision, it seems that everything is swallowed up. Boom, boom. The roar exploded frantically, and Kaido's mouth was wide open, and he said savagely, "Linlin, I will not lose to you. Otherwise, the eldest and second brothers will feel that I am very embarrassed." Momomomom. Linlin also laughed without fear. "Just kidding. Don't talk like I will lose to you, this kid. Don't make trouble. I won't lose to you, this kid." Yes. The two looked at each other, and what appeared in their eyes were terrifying killing intent, obviously. These two guys, but neither of them showed any mercy, or in other words. For these two guys, their power all of them have been upgraded to an ultimate. At this moment, what they have to do is to crush the opponent directly and defeat it. Die. Light cannon. Linlin's flames, lightning, and giant swords are all combined. The three most outstanding Hormies are combined, and the power they exert is the most terrifying. A high-density shock wave swept in instantly, and facing Linlin with such an attack, Kaido showed a different strength. Wei Wei let out a breath of turbid air, and an astonishing scene appeared. Kaido actually staggered slightly and avoided the blow in an instant, and this scene was the most different thing. For a long time, Kaido was the best at fighting. It is proof of hard resistance, and under such a battle, at this moment, Kaido actually chose to avoid it. That's what makes the most difference. Only, Kaido is not an idiot, why do you have to choose to fight head-on? Or, why can't you dodge in the face of an attack? This is the strangest thing. Kaido chooses to dodge, doesn't it seem strange? But no matter what the result is, now Kaido has evaded Linlin's blow. At the same time, he took a step back, followed by him. The whole person jumped up in an instant, the power that burst out in that instant, as if to swallow everything up. Crackling. The powers born from Armament Haki, Conqueror's Haki, and the monstrous Azure Dragon Fruit are all combined at this moment, forming a terrifying impact. David Thunder ate trigrams. Everything seemed to have become silent. Tick-tock, tick-tock. The blood dripped on the ground, but Baloric's face was very ugly. He knelt down on one knee, as if he couldn't bear this kind of battle. Cough, cough, cough. Coughing slightly weakly, Baloric's face was ugly, but his breath had gradually weakened. Ha, ha. On the opposite side of Baloric, Alan seemed to be unscathed, but he was breathing heavily and his face was very pale, but no matter what. At this moment, this scene has been shown, it also told everyone what Laozi's strength was. He. The corners of Alan's mouth grinned open, revealing a hideous smile, and said, "Really? Barorik, I really have to admit that you are really strong enough. Almost you are going to be defeated." That's right, almost. It was only a short distance away. Alan really never thought that the strength of this guy, Baloric, would be so amazing. To be able to display such terrifying power, he almost defeated himself. Alan had never imagined the situation. However, the final result was still the same. Baloric lost. Did he lose to himself? That's the result, and that's enough. As for the process. So many years. Except for Captain Rocks, Alan met for the first time such an evenly matched opponent. As for Cory, the Marine Admiral, feel sorry. This is completely meaningless. Although Cory is Marine Admiral, he is stronger than himself. This is not a normal calculation method. Because of this, the two parties cannot be calculated together. Spitting out a mouthful of blood, Baloric slowly stood up. His eyes were very calm, and even filled with indifference. It seems that he is indeed defeated. But, let's stop here. 0. For flowers. Baloric knew that he had lost, and if he lost, he lost. There was nothing he could not admit, and he remained calm. Baleoric let out a turbid breath and said calmly, Alan. This battle is indeed mine. Lost, but it's not the end, it's just the beginning. Hee hee. The corners of Alan's mouth grinned, and it was also interesting to say, then let me see it. How will you be in the future? 39. Alan didn't go on trying, kill Baleoric. Stop it. It's like bullshit, and if you can kill Baleoric, then of course it's the best thing. But, Alan, I can tell you clearly. This is something that cannot be done at all, although it is said. I have won the victory, but in fact, the strength of the two people is only half a caddy, and the difference is not much. It is undeniable, pirates. And such a monster is really very terrifying. There is really nothing wrong with it. Baleoric's strength is really strong. And it has reached an amazing level, which is really beyond doubt. Goodbye. Standing up, Baleoric left without hesitation, so to speak. Without any hesitation. And with Baleoric's departure, Alan also sat on the ground without any hesitation. The battle was over, and he murmured slightly weakly, this guy is really strong. It's not bad. I really never thought that it could reach such a level. 99. Cough cough cough. It hurts. Rubbing his internal organs, although the injury has recovered, the terrifying punch seems to tear himself apart. Point 0. The remaining 3 people on the entire island, or only the remaining 3 people, have already appeared. Brother Edward. The result of this battle may be something that many people can't think of, but the final result is like this. In the end, the 3 remaining people are the 3 Edward brothers, and what choice these 3 brothers will make is their problem. Snapped, snapped. With the sound of footsteps, both Newgate and Kaido came over, the sky had cooled down slightly, and the battle began under the night, but at this time, the battle was about to end, and it seemed to prove that their end same. Greeting the arrival of dawn, representing their victory. For a while, Alan, Newgate, Kaido, the 3 brothers sat cross-legged directly on the ground in a zigzag posture, all gasping for breath and laughing uncontrollably. Ha ha ha. Goo la la la. Worororo. Following the familiar loud laughter, the 3 brothers looked at each other with interest, and all of them were smiling broadly, as if they had thought of something interesting. Pooh. Kaido spit out a mouthful of saliva and continued, Big brother. Second brother. You two look really embarrassing. Is that so? Newgate complained. The third child, you are talking as if you are very relaxed, if you are not a phantom beast, are you more injured than me? 35. Newgate doesn't think anything about his injuries. It's a meaningless thing, just kidding. Wounds are the glory of battle, which is true for any warrior, and Newgate thinks so. Lifetime. There are no scars on Newgate's back. This is Newgate's glory and Newgate's self-confidence. It is undeniable that he is such a man, no matter when he has never had a backlash. Back to the enemy. Ha ha ha. Alan smiled broadly and said, that's why. The final result is only the 3 of us brothers. In this case, the final result is to decide the winner among the 3 of our brothers. Goo la la la. Newgate stood up and said confidently, this is the first time I have fought with you like this. I also want to see how strong you are, brother. 5. Worororo. Kaido also stood up and said, but it's really great. I also want to play against the big brother to see how strong the big brother is. Ha ha ha. Listening to the words of his 2 younger brothers, Alan also stood up and said interestingly, you 2 little brats. Are you planning to take action against Laozi? Okay. Today Laozi will tell you why you 2 are brats. 35. The 3 brothers looked at each other, all with a hideous smile on the corners of their mouths, and they were ready to make a move. Just kidding. Let's try it out. Who will the final victory belong to? The breath of the 3 is more and more terrifying, and this is also the first time the 3 brothers have fought. Maybe the last time. P.S. 5,000-word chapter. Daily 6 updates. Third update. Please subscribe. Please customize. Please collect. Chapter 106. Rock's Pirate Co-Captain, Edward Allen. Snapped. Snapped. Following the faint sound of footsteps, Alan threw the gold coin in his hand aside and said casually, Captain Rocks, is this the gold coin? Oh ha ha ha. Rocks laughed and said, sure enough. It's almost as I guessed. The gold coin fell into your hands, so it can be roughly guessed. Rocks felt that it was very indifferent, it was completely expected, after all. Alan's strength is there. In addition, Alan's strength is there for one reason, and the other reason is very simple, that is Edward, the strength of the 3 brothers is not weak at all. When the 3 brothers join forces, there is no hesitation. In the true sense of joining forces, there will be no fear at all. But what about the joining forces of you guys? A little bit of understanding is very clear. So, Alan became Rock's Pirates co-captain, of course. Bagley. Tiger. Alan suddenly spoke, and the 2 little devils who had been watching the lively were stunned for a while, and pointed to themselves in astonishment, and then said, Uncle, what's the matter? 35. Alan threw the 2 silver coins to the 2 of them, and said casually, these are more silver coins that I picked up at random, so I'll give them to you too. Huh. 35. Bagley and Tiger almost took the silver coins in a hurry. At this moment, the 2 brothers were stunned. They looked at their uncle and really didn't know what to say. Even though The strength growth of the two little devils over the years is not bad, and they can be considered a bit of strength in terms of strength, but the problem is, as far as the strength of the two of them is, they are not comparable to those monsters, and they got these 2 silver coins inexplicably. Worororo. 880. Kaido laughed and patted the two of them on the shoulders, and said carelessly, little devils. I am very optimistic about you. And with Kaido's actions, everyone gradually retracted their eyes, because they already knew what it meant. This is Laozi's people, do you rubbish have ideas for Laozi's people? You are afraid to die bar. This is what Kaido means, and with Kaido's actions, these people are naturally honest. Of course Kaido didn't continue to say anything, it's simply unnecessary. Pointless. Humph. Just a bunch of rubbish. Kaido's eyes were full of disdain, and he didn't take these into his eyes at all. After taking his eyes back, he didn't care about all this. As for the question, on the island, what was the result of the battle between the 3 Edward brothers? Not important anymore. Or, for these 3 brothers, they didn't care about winning or losing in this kind of battle from the very beginning. The 3 brothers just wanted to know the strength of the other party and wanted to try it. In that case, of course they didn't think about it. So many things. It's not a strange thing anymore. Woo. A wisp of blue smoke was exhaled. Alan looked at the gold coins in his hand, but he was very calm, even very casually muttering, it's really a good thing. Is the position of the deputy captain. It's interesting. 5. A smile appeared, and Alan didn't say much. Only. The selection of Rock's Pirates cadres spread to the entire sea with the end of the curtain, and almost everyone on the sea knew the news of this matter in an instant. This moment, everyone's feelings are completely different things, some people take it for granted, some people are ambitious, but to say who has changed the most, then it must be Marine. Right now, Marine was lost in thought. For so many years. Marine's situation is actually not good, there is no way. Let's not talk about what the internal situation of Marine is, but one thing is certain, that is, Marine's strength is definitely extremely strong. But the problem is, although Marine's strength is strong, he can face Rock's pirate, an incomparably terrifying and even unparalleled monster, is he really an opponent? Outrageous level, and at such level, how can you come from? Reason. There is no way. No one can do anything about it. The Rock's pirate has reached the level of invincibility now, to put it bluntly. As long as the Rock's pirate does not make mistakes, or even do some more crazy things, all this is actually meaningless. And because of this, the strength of Rock's pirate is really too strong now, it has reached an outrageous level, and such a strong strength, want to deal with it. In fact, it is already unrealistic. In this case, can only wait. Alan and other 9 people, in fact, as cadres, although they have no nominal certification, but everyone agrees, after all. Their strength is extremely strong, just. This is different for Rock's pirate. If they are not certified, then they are not real cadres. This is still the opinion of most people, and they scream like Big Brother, but if you really divide something. Even if I can't kill you, I will be sick to death. That's the case with Rock's pirate anyway. Result. Rock's actually made this move, and made everything come to an end by grabbing coins. Do you agree or not? If you don't agree with me directly appointing you, then you are fighting the other party. You stole the other party's coins, then this position is yours. It turned out to be the way it is now, it's something that can't be helped, or that everyone knows it. But again, Rock's D. Zebek is strong. Same. The 3 Edward brothers are also powerful as monsters, and when they are all such terrifying monsters, what will the next result be? In fact, it is self-evident. Because it is too powerful and has reached such a level, even if you want to resist, it is completely meaningless. This is the most fundamental reason. This news is also thoroughly spread to the whole world. Lieutenant Rock's pirate, Edward Allen, 35. Sighing slightly, Simon looked at the intelligence photos in front of him, but rubbed his brows slightly. His expression was very ugly, obviously he had never thought of these situations. Who would have thought? This guy's strength is really so terrifying. Sighing and shaking his head again, Simon didn't say much, or said. Even if he thinks too much, it's actually meaningless. Mr. Simon, Marshal Simon, Sora, Sengoku, Garp, and Zephyr walked into the office. The 4 of them have been busy recently. This time they were summoned, and they all asked in confusion, did something happen? Shaking his head slightly, Simon pointed to the information in front of him, and said a little helplessly, look at this. It's really a headache. I have to admit it. This thing is really giving me a headache. All 4 of them picked up the information and read it carefully. After reading it, Sengoku's eyes narrowed and he said in a slightly stupefied voice, This guy Alan, is he still the deputy captain of Rock's pirate? Nodding his head, Simon said calmly, this news came from the sword unit, so to speak. The accuracy of the news is beyond doubt. In Marine, there are actually many positions, Admiral. In fact, although the position is very high, he is mainly responsible for combat matters, and the position of Admiral is mainly set to 3 people. Of course, it's not that there are only 3 admirals in each generation of Marine, just how to say it. Admiral is not suitable for much more. In Doflamingo's words, why is Marine the world overlord, the real overlord on the sea? In fact, the most fundamental reason is because Marine's strength is too strong. There is no doubt that the Marshal is the highest position in the naval headquarters. The first is the 3 Admiral, followed by the Marine Instructor, Marine Chief of Staff, Marine SWORD Force Commander, Marine Criminal Investigation Bureau Director, Marine Impel Down Director. In fact, these positions are essentially tied with Admiral positions, even in terms of strength. Unfortunately, the real result is that Marine has very little chance to actually get together so many strong ones. If so, at the peak of combat power, it was really time for Sakazuki to be the Marshal. At that time, the naval headquarters was the real peak of combat power. In addition to the Marshal of Sakazuki, there were 3 Admiral Polsolino, Aramaki and Yishao. In addition, Magellan is the Deputy Director, Crane is the Chief of Staff, Guion, plus 2 alternate Admiral, as well as top powerhouses such as Dark Horses. Basically this is Marine's top combat power in the same era. Sengoku and Garp are retired, but it looks like they are retired. But, in any case, what is certain is that Marine was definitely the strongest at that time, not that the overall strength was not strong enough as it is now. Actually, the world government is also prepared for Marine, and it will hardly allow Marine to fill all positions, otherwise. If all positions were filled, how strong was Marine at his peak? 9 Marine Admiral, this is the minimum configuration, if it counts as an alternate Admiral. My dear, that is more than 10 Marine Admiral combat power, this is already a very terrifying thing. It was too terrifying, and it was so terrifying that the world government could not accept it. Because of this, the suppression of Marine has always existed. Naval headquarters, Eni's lobby, and Impel Down are actually facilities that belong to Marine. Marine was arrested, Eni's lobby was tried, and it was finally determined that there was no problem sending them to Impel Down. This series has a complete process. The result is something went wrong. Can only say, some things, although they are beautiful in thought, but when they are actually implemented, it is really not that easy. This is the situation inside Marine, and at this moment, Simon is also thinking about these many things. If it can increase Marine's strength, how good would it be? Pity. Although Marine's strength wants to increase, but it's really too difficult. Shaking his head silently, Simon also let out a helpless sigh in his heart. If he could do it, of course it would be the best thing, but it's a pity. There are many things that even Simon can't do at all. It's about doing the best you can. Marshal Simon. Sengoku thought for a moment and said, Alan has become the deputy captain of Rock's Pirate. In fact, all this is expected, this man's strength is very strong. It doesn't seem to be a strange thing. Simon nodded and said, the problem is not here, but in the future. Future. Everyone was slightly stunned, showing a look of astonishment, as if they didn't know what this meant. Simon shook his head and said, isn't the fundamental reason why Rock's Pirate is powerful in this era? That's right. Very powerful. Simon seemed to be answering his own questions and continued, the strength of the Rock's Pirate is unquestionable. It's just that this powerful pirate group is supported by Rocks alone, and Rocks can no longer survive any longer. What's more, everyone's ambitions are growing, and it doesn't take long for the entire Rocks Pirate to collapse. 35. At that moment, actually, now the times will change. Quote. Simon said seriously and solemnly, what about the future? Alan is too strong. His strength will continue to be strengthened, and he has obtained 30% of the treasure of Rock's Pirate. In addition to everything else, the strength of the 3 Edward brothers will make him stronger. It will be greatly enhanced, and this is the fundamental core. With a look of emotion, Simon shook his head silently. It is undeniable that this is the most terrifying thing. No, it should be said that this is the most terrifying thing, even saying. It's the most troublesome thing to deal with. This. Listening to Simon's words, everyone was hesitant for a while, and they never imagined that this would be the case. But, Sengoku shook his head and said, Marshal Simon, I don't think Alan can grow to the level of Rocks, it's already impossible. Luo 5.9x is too strong, so powerful that it is almost unprecedented. To the extent, such a person. Listening to Sengoku's words, Simon nodded after a little thought, indeed. This is an undeniable thing, the Rocks Pirate built by Rocks must be stronger than anyone before or after. Only, there is a sentence that Simon and others are not clear about, that is. Don't set up flag casually. Is everything really that simple? Stop making trouble. Is it that simple? Possible thing. It's just like a joke. Can. All Simon needs to do is take the Rocks with his own death, let the people of the old era disappear one by one, and then leave a brand new era. That's the most important thing, as for everything else. Actually, it's not important anymore, because it's already meaningless. An era only needs to complete the tasks of an era, and more is meaningless. Finally, P.S. 5,000 word chapter. Daily 6 updates. 4th update. Please subscribe. Please customize. Please collect. Shaking his head with a smile, Simon shook his head and said, but. Sengoku, Garp, Zephyr, Alan's affairs need your consideration. This is the limit that this old man can give you. In the future, if you are successful, then of course is the best thing ever. Simon is very clear that the next era is the era of these newcomers, and it has nothing to do with himself. Or rather, Simon still shook his head. He didn't continue to say anything. In fact, no matter what he said, it was meaningless. At this point, the limit has been reached, and it is already meaningless. Chapter 107. Dog Charm. Immortal Power. Devil Fruit from Captain Rock's World. What is it like? Alan doesn't know either, of course, and he doesn't care, after all. According to Alan's character, I have always cared nothing about how the world sees him. Woo. Breathing out a puff of green smoke, Alan murmured, the number of devil fruits is almost there, and there are still 3 spells left, which is almost the same. With this emotional sound, Alan absorbed 5 devil fruits, and as the devil fruits were absorbed, the divine power of a spell was integrated into his body, and the divine power of the spell was integrated into his body. Alan narrowed his eyes slightly. What? Feeling this change, Alan slowly opened his eyes and murmured, it is this kind of power. This invincible power, this is the most powerful divine power of the 12 talismans. Snapped. Make a fist with one hand. Crackling. The endless power seems to be bred, integrated into his body. In a short period of time, the endless power seems to be swallowing everything up, or in other words, power is contained in one's own body. The power of the dog spell. Brush. Alan picked up a knife beside him and slashed his throat without hesitation. Tick-tock. Tick-tock. Fresh blood flowed out, but at a speed visible to the naked eye, the wound on Alan's neck healed instantly. At that moment, it was as if nothing had happened. This feeling was too strange. No matter whether it is strange or not, this is the truth. If you let outsiders see it, you will understand that at that moment, Alan's blow was absolutely fatal. It is even said that it is a blow of decapitation, but such power is completely meaningless. Although scars are left, the scars are restored in an instant. Woo. Slightly let out a breath of turbid air, Alan clenched a fist with one hand, slightly raised the corner of his mouth, the next moment. Ha ha ha. Alan laughed wildly, and the whole person laughed madly and grimly. It's really great. It's great. This is the divine power of the dog spell. As long as the master has the divine power of the dog spell, then everything O6 is enough. Dog spell. It represents the power of immortality, and eternal youth, and this is the most terrifying talisman of the 12 talismans, of course. The divine power of the dog talisman does not mean that it will not be injured. This statement is impossible. To put it another way, the dog spell is immortal, but it doesn't mean it won't get hurt. Let's put it another way. Alan's blow just now was enough to decapitate his own head, and the final result of such a blow was that it wasn't like that at all. Instead, his injury recovered. Only, this kind of injury recovery is divided into 2 levels. The dog charm keeps its own immortality, and the horse charm completely restores the injury. Now you know. This is the power of the dog charm. The dog charm will keep you from dying, but it will not speak. It really protects you, so that you will not have any injuries. This is not all the power of the dog charm has, and such the divine power of the dog talisman is naturally extremely terrifying. The most important thing is the eternal and infinite physical strength. Alan's strength is extremely strong, it can be said. The strength that Alan can exert is extremely terrifying, even to say, if the physical strength is terrifying, Alan even faces people stronger than himself. All are capable of fighting. And now, own it. System. Name. Edward Allen. Template. Fire Demon Lord 80%. Magic. The magic of fire. 12 charms. Cow, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, sheep, chicken, dog, pig. Ghost Mask. Inactive. 8 demons. Not activated. 9 ghosts general. Inactive. Hockey. Conqueror's Hockey Premium. Armament Hockey Premium. Observation Hockey Premium. Looking at his attribute panel, Alan raised the corners of his mouth and said interestingly, sure enough. The completeness of the template has reached 80%, and now it is still lacking the divine power of the rat spell and the monkey spell. Besides that. As if thinking about something, Alan shook his head. No more to think about it, because it's pointless, it's useless to think about it on your own, and over time, naturally, all you need to know is I know, and at that time, there is no need to say more. Very soon. Next. Alan murmured. As long as the master has mastered the remaining 2 spells, it will be the perfect master's template. I'm curious. After the master has mastered the master's template, who will be the next master? Template. Hee. With a smile, Alan didn't think about it anymore, but lay on the bed, and soon fell asleep. Day 2. Alan stood up, rubbed his eyebrows slightly, walked out of the deck, and murmured, although I have already mastered the divine power of the dog charm, but the training that should be continued must be continued. Again, the divine power that the 12 spells can exert depends on how powerful their own strength is. The stronger one is, the more one can feel that the divine power of the 12 spells seems to be endless. In other words, to describe it, the power of the 12 spells is almost endless. As the power used becomes stronger and stronger, the power that can be exerted is more and more terrifying. Correct. No one will think that Uncle Long who was fighting against the Holy Master and others. Dad, Xiao Yu. They are all ordinary people, right? My dear. Now, isn't Uncle Long's strength very weak? Whether it is flying over the eaves or walls, kicking people out dozens of meters with one kick, or jumping down from a height of 100 meters. Are you really kidding? Stop it. Uncle Long doesn't know martial arts, but he should have strong internal skills. This is the fundamental core, of course. These are just a statement, and it doesn't matter whether he admits it or not. He let out a sigh of turbid air, and Alan's expression was calm enough. After eating breakfast, he started his daily basic training. Even if his body is immortal, but the physical quality he should have is also yes, it can be recovered slowly over time. Bit by bit, the basic training soon came to an end. Taking a deep breath, Alan let out a long sigh, turned around, and said casually, Bagley, Tiger, two little brats, how do you feel now? The two of them are more or less in a state of confusion now. The Rocks Pirates co-captain is Edward Allen. But, in addition to the position of vice-captain, what about the other cadres? Newgate, Kaido, Shiki, Baloric, Akoku, John, Silver Axe, Linlin, this is a total of 8 people. And apart from these 8 people, what about the others? Of course it's Bagley and Tiger. The silver coins that Allen and Kaido grabbed were handed over to 2 people. And as these 2 people hold silver coins, Captain Rocks, no matter how you got the silver coins, as long as you get the silver coins, then the position of the cadre belongs to you. Under such circumstances, the 2 individuals are the same as 2 cadres. Result. The situation is very embarrassing. This is the case for many people. They are really eager to move. Among the Rocks Pirate, there are naturally many people who are stronger than Bagley and Tiger. Not too much. After all, although the strength of the 2 is good, there is still a gap compared to those monsters, and although the qualifications of the 2 are also very good, they are also different from the monsters like Kaido. Naturally, many people are staring at holding silver coins for 2 people. Compared with other people, it is indeed the easiest thing for these 2 people to get their hands on silver coins. However, that sentence, although it looks like the easiest thing, it is the most difficult thing. The reason is very simple. Compared with most of the other people who are lonely, and Akoku, John, and Silver Axe are in the state of alliance, the 3 Edward brothers are real people, but brothers. That is really scary. Bagley, Tiger, they are all people's sons. Edward Allen, Edward Newgate, Edward Kaido, Edward Bagley, Edward Tiger. Sounds great, right? The entire Rocks Pirate, Edward family has 1 deputy captain and 4 cadres. This situation is really enviable. You don't care what other reasons are, it's nothing at all. Meaningful thing, anyway. The Edward family is just so terrifying, this is something that doesn't need to be doubted at all. A wisp of blue smoke spit out, and Alan said very casually, speaking of which. After the selection of cadres, things are almost the same. We should leave too. Uncle, 95. Bagley pondered and said. We leave like this, next, there should be many people staring at us. 39. Alan sat cross-legged on the sofa on the deck. What? It is worth mentioning that the chair on the sofa is what Alan finds comfortable, so it is placed here, rubbing his chin and thinking. Theoretically. It's still not much, right? But, that's how it is. Even if it is, if there is a gap, there won't be a big gap, at most that's what it looks like. 99. Anyway, those rubbish must have ideas and they won't give up. 9. Bagley nodded thoughtfully, that's true. For those rubbish, though, they're basically out of hope, but the things that should be tried are still to be tried. If it is successful, right? Not to mention, above this sea, the most indispensable thing is a lunatic. For these lunatics, they will do anything. As long as there is hope of success, they will also do it. Even if there is no hope of success, there is no hope of success. Opportunities are also to create opportunities to try, which is the most fundamental reason. He. With a smile on the corner of his mouth, Alan said casually, however. It doesn't matter, I'm not interested in these guys either, then I'll give you 2 little guys some practice. Anyway, just a bunch of boring garbage. 99. Alan has a completely indifferent attitude, because it really doesn't matter. Too weak. In his eyes, those guys are just a bunch of garbage. Can he still be angry with a group of garbage? That is of course impossible. In other words, Alan has no intention of taking trash in his eyes at all. Woo. A wisp of green smoke was exhaled. Alan looked into the distance, and murmured interestingly, next. It's going to be a few years of steady time, if nothing else. As time goes by, soon, everything is about to start. Dad. While Alan was thinking, Guillaume quickly ran over and said with a smile, Dad, are we going to set sail? Alan thought for a while. Almost. Little rabbit, are you having fun these days? 99. Nothing to be happy about. Guillaume said casually. It's boring. After all, people at Rocks Pirate feel weird. No wonder Guillaume feels this way. Guillaume is a mild-mannered person, she doesn't really like to do those things, and the whole Rocks Pirate is a crazy place, and in such a crazy place, the price to pay and the what is the result of 883. In fact, it is self-evident. Because of this, Guillaume doesn't like this place very much, or, in other words, just doesn't like it purely instinctively, after all. The personalities of the two sides are completely different things. What? Goo la la la. At this time, with the loud laughter, Newgate walked back with a big smile, and said with a big laugh, "Brother. You didn't see the face of that guy Shiki. But I laughed so hard, that guy knew it. When the little guys Bagley and Tiger were cadres like him, they looked like they had eaten flies, but it was too interesting." Goo la la la. Newgate is really excited. Just kidding, seeing that guy deflate makes Newgate more excited than taking off. Newgate and Shiki have the same identity as standard rivals. The two have always fought against each other again and again, but the same. When the two fought, they also sat down with each other again and again. Drink wine. This kind of relationship between enemies and friends is quite normal, after all. Among the pirates, these people can attack you in any way, but since they chose to sit down and drink, then if they make a move. But she will be looked down upon. This is also the reason why Linlin is looked down upon by others. This woman is often unscrupulous. Humph. 99. Alan raised the corners of his mouth with an interesting smile and said, "Indeed. Bagley and Tiger turned out to be cadres. It doesn't matter to others, but for Shiki, who is arrogant, it is indeed somewhat impossible. Accept it." Who? At this time, Kaido came back with a mace and spit out a mouthful of blood, and as Kaido came back, everyone was curious, not knowing what happened, they all looked at Kaido curiously. And Kaido wiped the corners of his mouth and said, "It's not a big deal, it's just a fight with that crazy bitch Linlin, that bastard crazy bitch." Bah. 35. Another mouthful of blood was spit out, obviously. Today, Kaido and Linlin clashed again, which is not surprising, although it was said that the winner was on the island. But just kidding, he was defeated by a kid, if he could it's weird to accept. Correct. Kaido suddenly thought of something and said directly, "Captain Rocks informs you that the devil fruit as the deputy captain will be handed over to you." Devil fruit. Alan was stunned for a moment, then rubbed his brows and said, "Ah. Yes, as the co-captain, I also have a devil fruit, I forgot about this thing, really. My head is not very good." Shaking his head, Alan really forgot about this devil fruit. If he becomes the deputy captain, he can get a devil fruit. This thing, I forgot about it myself. P.S. 5,000 word chapter. Daily 6 updates. 5th update. Please subscribe. Please customize. Please collect. Chapter 108. Dark Fruit. The Invincible Edward brothers. Snapped. Pushing open the door directly, Alan strode in and said casually, "Captain Rocks, what about the devil fruit that promised me?" "Oh ha ha ha," Rocks said interestingly. "Alan kid. Your strength is improving faster and faster, if nothing else, you will soon be able to reach the level of being comparable to Laozi." 55. Alan sat down, looked at Captain Rocks, waved his hand and said, "Forget it. Forget it. You don't need to say that, I know what's going on myself, compared to you, Captain Rocks, I want to achieve your level of strength." Never mind. Alan shook his head and said, "There is basically no hope within 10 years, and the strength gap is still too large. Although I am a lunatic, I am also a sensible person, very clear, with my own strength. Although I dare not say how embarrassing it is, but, if you are really not joking, there is no difference. That is self-deception in the true sense. There is really a gap, and this gap is still quite big compared to it. Even if I have 12 spells and the magic energy of fire, and this kind of strength is compared to Captain Rocks, although I can't say that there is a huge gap, in fact. It's basically the same, Captain Rock's strength is really it's very scary. That kind of terror doesn't mean that he simply obtained some abilities that can be compared. It is the strength, essence, and background accumulated over a long period of time. These are the most outstanding and the most intense." "Oh ha ha ha," Rocks said with an interesting smile. "Boy. You are really interesting. In all my years, I have rarely seen someone like you who sees clearly and knows the size of the gap in strength." Alan shrugged and said, "It doesn't matter, it's not an opponent or an opponent, what's weird about it? Do you have to accept it? That kind of person is an idiot. Failure is not a bad thing. Losing once or twice, knowing his weakness, he will work even harder. This is Alan's way of doing things." Just kidding. For Alan, this is almost what he has always believed in. For Alan, on the sea, no matter what the strength is. But, one thing is absolutely certain, the strength of the strong is undoubtedly strong, but you are not weak, are you? Of course. No matter what, another point is that with the improvement of strength, this is the most important. Losing. 35. Win. 99. Hee. Rocks grinned and said interestingly, "Boy Alan, you are really interesting. But, forget it, this is your devil fruit, go away. I have no interest in you. Goodbye." Alan is also welcome, picked up the treasure chest, turned around and left, and watched Alan leave. Rocks murmured. Edward Allen. Really a very good kid. His heart is calm and peaceful enough, he knows a lot of things that other people don't want to admit, but such a person. It's a pity, you are not descended from D, if not. Shaking his head silently, Rocks didn't continue to say anything. For him, as a member of D's family, Rox knew a lot, even to an unbelievable level. And because of this, Rox is very clear about how to deal with everything that follows, and the same. For this see, what will happen next. With a slight sigh, Rox shook his head silently, and then he resumed his arrogant look again. He knew a lot of other things, and all this is the most important thing, isn't it? Carrying the treasure chest, Alan returned to his pirate ship, rubbed his chin and said, seriously. As for what this devil fruit is, I really don't know what it is. What? Listening to Alan's words, everyone came over curiously and watched Alan open the treasure chest. Following the opening of the treasure chest, a pitch-black devil fruit appeared. For a while, everyone was slightly stunned. What devil fruit is this? F*K. Be good. The brothers Newgate and Kaido have all seen the complete devil fruit illustration. Maybe not all devil fruits are recorded, but they definitely know a lot. Looking at this devil fruit, I am shocked. Said. I really didn't expect it. It turned out to be this devil fruit. Indeed. Alan also nodded and said, Logia dark fruit. That's right. This devil fruit is the dark fruit, and it is also the devil fruit that Teach has spent his entire life trying to get. After getting this devil fruit, he took away the power of shock fruit through this devil fruit and defeated him. The remnants of the Whitebeard Pirates have completely become one of the top 4 emperors in the world. Even though Teach suddenly discovered that the other 3 knew 4 emperors, these 3 guys knew each other. For this, Shanks has something to say. Just kidding. Once the 3 of them knew each other, now I just change it, Teach. Don't say I bullied you. What? This is just a joke, but no matter how you describe it in some ways, it must be admitted that the power of dark fruit is indeed very terrifying, and such a devil fruit was actually given by Captain Rox as a gift sent out the same. This. Everyone blinked. Alan shook his head and said, seriously. Dark fruit. Devil fruit. I was researching how to get it, and it turned out. It was obtained in this way. It is true that there is no way, just think about it. 39. Shaking his head with a casual smile, this is really unintentional. The 3 Edward brothers have been collecting devil fruit for so many years, and they have collected quite a few devil fruits. Green dragon fruit, phoenix fruit, shock fruit, shining fruit, pocket fruit, transpiration fruit, hot fruit, mini fruit, lava fruit. These are the devil fruits collected by the 3 Edward brothers over the years, and among them. The shiny fruit was eaten by Joes, the phoenix fruit was eaten by Marco, the green dragon fruit was eaten by Kaido, and the owner of shock fruit is Newgate. Now I have 5 devil fruits, pocket fruit, evaporative fruit, hot fruit, mini fruit and lava fruit, and now I have got another dark fruit. Alan rubbed his chin and said, these are all top-level devil fruits. If you cultivate them well in the future, they will definitely be a powerful little brat. Newgate and Kaido both agree. Actually, one thing you have to admit is that the people you train yourself are the ones who are really very loyal, and the people who win, they really is very loyal. There is a huge problem with this one. There is no doubt about this, people's ambitions are endless. If it is really so easy to obey, it is the most strange thing. That is almost impossible. So, many times, it is the most normal to cultivate talents like this since childhood. As for Teach, that is purely another situation. Teach's situation is quite special. Who would have thought that the kid who just joined would have such an ambition? Think. That's the weirdest thing ever. Okay. 35. Let's sail. Yes, uncle. Oh who, Bagley, Tiger, and others were all starting to prepare to set sail, and Alan also stood up, looked at the Black Pearl, and suddenly said, second, third, this time chatting with Captain Rox, I feel here it is. His life has gradually reached its limit. 35. The owner of the sheep charm and dog charm combined with his own observation hockey, has gradually felt a person's life. A person's soul, and I can clearly feel that Captain Rox has almost reached the limit, and this way under the circumstance, what is the next result? In fact, it is self-evident. 35. This. The 2 brothers obviously did not expect that their eldest brother would say such a thing, and they couldn't help but be stunned. Alan continued. Captain Rox's life and soul have almost reached the limit, and he has prepared everything. Obviously, this is his last struggle, although he doesn't know what he wants to do, but one thing is for sure. Captain Rox wants one last madness before his life ends. The 2 brothers nodded, indicating that they were clear, and Alan continued. There is only one such situation, with the destruction of Rox Pirate, a new era is coming. And this era will be the most exciting. It's time to feel timid. But, it's also the most exciting era, isn't it? 35. That's right. Yes. The 3 brothers looked at each other, but invariably smiled. That's right. This is the most anticipated era. In other words, this is the most exciting era. Such a gorgeous era. What will the next result be? In fact, it is self-evident. Search. Licking the corner of his mouth slightly, Alan said excitedly, this era. But it's getting more and more interesting. I'm also getting more and more interested. Ha. Goo la la. Worororo. The 3 brothers are all laughing heroically, and everyone's eyes are flashing with sharp light, because they are already ready. What will happen next? This is a very interesting thing. A brand new era, an era where many heroes are rising together, and what is the name of this era? Edward. This is an era that belongs to their three brothers. No matter what time it is, there is absolutely no doubt, this is the era that belongs to them. This is the power that belongs to them. And in such an era, do we need to say more? Humph. The corners of Alan's mouth twitched, with a smile on his face, he said proudly, in such a brand new era. And everything belongs to our brothers. A terrifying killing intent emerged. Alan's killing intent was very terrifying, and it was full of Hockey's tyranny. New era. It's about to start. Search. Search. Boom. Boom. Fire. 35. Fire. 39. Bastard. How dare you come to trouble? Backquote. Brothers. Kill them for me. Oh who. Bagley let out an angry roar. These rubbish dared to come and ask for trouble. It's just a death act. This is something that Bagley can't accept at all, okay. Just kidding. A group of rubbish suddenly came to the door looking for trouble. If it were that simple, it would be over. It would simply be better to die. This is absolutely unacceptable. The shells swept through the rays of light, and Bagley said with sharp eyes, attack I want to see what the strength of these guys is. Ah, they dare to dare, are you so arrogant with Laozi? There was a terrifying killing intent in his eyes, but Bagley had no intention of backing down. Joke. When did a cat and a dog dare to attack the Edward brothers' pirate ship? Of course. As for the reason for the opponent's attack, in fact, this is beyond doubt. The brothers all know what is going on. But because of this is the anger that is very terrifying. Joke. Are you looking for trouble? Are you looking down on Laozi and others? You wait. Look at Laozi killing you guys today. Bagley. Tiger. The two brothers became cadres because of their uncles and uncles, but this is absolutely unacceptable to others at Rock's Pirate. Just kidding. With the strength of others, why did they become cadres? This is simply unacceptable. Because of this, the anger at this moment can be said to be burning uncontrollably. Therefore, with the Edward brothers leaving Rock's Pirate, no. Trouble is coming. As for rivals, just kidding. If these guys think about it, then it's not them guys. These lunatics, they didn't think about anything at all, they just came to the door to make trouble. Same. Bagley and Tiger are not rubbish either, you dare to come and ask for trouble. Are you looking down on Laozi? Asshole. I killed you guys. 35. With this angry roar, Qian Hao Tiger had already rushed into the deep sea like a red figure. Search. Search. Tiger's speed is extremely fast, and in an instant, he has already rushed over, and with Tiger's action, Bagley is like a black tiger, and he rushed out in an instant. The offensive of the two is very of ferocity. Brush. Brush. In a short period of time, this pair of brothers showed unparalleled strength, in a short period of time. It is to deal with everyone. Humph. Just a bunch of rubbish. It's not worth mentioning at all. Looking for trouble. This pair of brothers are very calm, just kidding. With such strength, you are here to make trouble for Laozi. It's simply an act of death. Is Laozi looking for trouble? Okay. Laozi is killing you today, and with the two brothers, these guys have been dealt with. And the entire battlefield is gradually returning to calm, or in other words, when the silence is restored, everything is gradually restored. At this time, another pirate ship has sailed from afar, and the speed is extremely fast, it seems that it is ready. It is just as if it intends to devour the opponent directly. Wow, wow. As the gallop came, it was at this momentary time that a terrifying shock wave ran through instantly, and what went through the shock wave was an equally terrifying heat breath. Boom. As the terrifying roar resounded, and a large number of pirate ships were directly destroyed by this blow, Alan walked out step by step, and said hideously, is my temper too good? You guys are these rubbish dares to come to trouble. What? Alan's killing intent was extremely terrifying, as if to devour everything. P.S. 5,000-word chapter. Daily 6 updates. 6th update. Please subscribe. Please customize. Please collect. Chapter 109. Sea Circle Calendar 1484. A big event about to break out. Sea Circle Calendar 1484. Time. It's always been fast. 4 years have passed since Alan became the deputy captain of Rock's Pirate, and during these 4 years, the whole sea has maintained a kind of calm, or silence. It is very peaceful and quiet. No one is going to provoke any kind of war. Even the New World is still very chaotic, but this is because of the reasons of the New World itself, which is different from other reasons. It is precisely because of this. Under the circumstances, the world at this moment. Instead, he fell into a strange calm, unusual silence, unusual calm, but it gave people a very strange feeling. As if, it's like the calm before the storm, and it's a very strange feeling. Woo. A wisp of green smoke was exhaled, and after 4 years, for Alan, there was no change at all. He stood with his hands in his pockets on the bow, as if thinking about something, and murmured, 4 years' time. The time has come to see Circle Calendar 1484. Quietly narrowing his eyes, Alan seemed to be thinking about something. As a traveler, he knew very well that the Valley of God's War was about to come, and with the arrival of the Valley of God's War, the entire Rock's Pirate, that to come to an end completely. At that time, everything is going to dissipate, this era is coming to an end, and it will be replaced by a new era, the most terrifying new era, and what will be the result of this era? And this is the most interesting thing. Hee hee. Alan grinned interestingly and said with a grim smile, it's really interesting, a whole new era. And in such an era, what will the result be? Search. Licking the corners of his mouth slightly, Alan's smile was unusually strong and full of madness. After so many years of preparation, everything is ready, in that case. Of course it won't end here. Snapped. Big brother, what are you laughing at? Newgate walked over step by step. 4 years later, Newgate doesn't seem to have changed much, but it seems to be more mature, and if it is the most obvious, it is that his own aura has become more and more mature. The added terror is like the spirit of an evil spirit. Alan didn't look back, and said casually, just thinking. Second child, do you think that although the sea says that 883 is very calm, it gives people a strange feeling? It's just like the calm before the storm, isn't it very interesting? 35. Newgate raised his eyebrows, thought carefully, but nodded and said, yes. So many years. This kind of strange calm is very interesting, just like the strange calm before the storm. That's it. Nice. The corners of Alan's mouth grinned open, with a ferocious look on his face, he said cruelly, everything. It's about to start, before the storm comes, this is the last piece, and in this piece, what will the result be? Quote. What? Newgate also said interestingly, what is about to break out is the most terrifying storm, maybe. This storm can devour everything, this terrifying power is really too terrifying. That's right, yes. 35. The two brothers looked at each other, and the corners of their mouths grinned with a hideous smile, which is too interesting, or rather. It is too interesting, with such terrifying power of Rock's pirate. What will happen next? What will the results of this era look like? This is the most interesting thing, isn't it? Ha ha ha. Goo la la la. The two brothers couldn't help laughing, it was really too interesting. Correct. Alan seemed to be thinking about something, but asked, that's weird. Where's the third one? Newgate shook his head and said, I don't know, when I woke up today, the third child disappeared without a trace, and I don't know where he went. Alan nodded, and didn't say much about this, anyway. In the past 4 years, the strength of his third child has also been greatly improved, and basically there will be no surprises. After all, the strength of the third child is an extremely terrifying monster. There is no doubt about it, or rather, this is something that does not need to be doubted at all, above this sea. There are indeed many people who want to kill the third child. Or, for those who dislike the 3 Edward brothers, that's really a lot. But you want someone who really kills the 3 Edward brothers. Stop making trouble. That's impossible. If it's true, it would be the strangest thing someone could do so easily. The 3 Edward brothers have always been here, and there are many people who want to do it, but what is the end result? In fact, it is self-evident. A wisp of green smoke was exhaled, and Alan said casually, it's not a big deal anyway. By the way, is there any news from the pirate ship? Newgate shook his head and said, it's almost there. It's about to the end. Neil is also preparing to retire. He is indeed old, but Neil's son, Tezzolo, is very interested in all this. Always following Marco's ass. 35. Newgate laughed. Neil is retired, and Tezzolo is very interested in all this. Although he is still young, he is very serious about researching and learning these things. Neil is also very helpless about this, but no matter what, this is what his son likes. If that's the case, then let his son follow his elder brother. Tezzolo is now Edward Tezzolo. Tezzolo is Newgate's adopted son, Newgate's 11th adopted son. Tezzolo. Alan smiled and shook his head, to be honest. I really didn't think about this situation. Neil's surname was very familiar to me at the beginning. But I really didn't expect that Neil's son would be Tezzolo. Golden Emperor. This one is absolutely inspirational. He even took a group of gangsters to steal the devil fruit auction by Doflamingo. Seriously. Alan shouted outrageous. This is simply a strange action, but no matter what. Doflamingo is also able to hold it and let go. After discovering the ability of the whole person, he finally chose another method. Cooperation. That's right. This guy Doflamingo directly chose to cooperate, and this kind of cooperation is a very suitable thing. The two directly started cooperation, and under such circumstances, Tezzolo also became the Golden Emperor. Of course, no matter what it is, what is certain is that Tezzolo's ability is really excellent, there is no doubt about this, and in terms of strength, it is also comparable to the strength of the 4th block, Put it on the 4 Emperor's pirates, the lowest level of the group is at least the level of 3 generals and 3 kanbans. As for the fact that Luffy and Luo defeated the 4 Emperors. How to say this thing? This is a difficult thing to describe, people may just become stronger, right? Anyway, these are all possible things. There is no doubt about them. Of course, saying 10,000 and 10,000 actually means that it is very simple. This is Tezzolo's talent and aptitude. As long as you cultivate it well, you will definitely grow up very well. No, now, Does this need more words? Well, whatever it is. Quote. Alan shook his head and said, in general, everything is almost like this, and it's pointless to continue. Yes. Newgate also nodded and said, brother. In fact, according to the current situation, there has been a huge problem in Rock's Pirate. This kind of collapse, even if it will not explode, is about to collapse. 4 years. Now the Rock's Pirate has swelled to an unparalleled level, no kidding. Rock's Pirate has swelled to an ultimate. Even to say, already AGFJ, can't describe in words, and such a terrifying Rock's Pirate, so powerful how is it? In fact, it is self-evident. And because of this, as Newgate said, there are a lot of monsters in the Rock's Pirate, and these monsters are ambitious guys, and these ambitious guys gather together, they are actually Rocks, the root cause of Pirates' collapse. There is absolutely no doubt about this. It can be said that after so many years, the development of Rock's Pirate has reached a limit, and it is impossible to go further, and when it was developed again and again, these lunatics can still, because of super high interests, do not care about this at all. Everything. 18. What if it continued? Actually, it is self-evident. If it continues, the wasted time will be very terrifying for these lunatics. Their ambitions can no longer continue to expand, but their madness is still there, they still looking for everything. This is the fundamental reason, it can be said. Even if the Valley of God War does not break out, the entire Rock's Pirate is about to collapse and is about to reach its limit. Breathing out a puff of smoke, Alan said calmly, so. In fact, what we can see, others can also see, a monster like Captain Rocks can also see it, but Captain Rocks is not special. Just care. This. Newgate blinked. Alan said casually. From the very beginning, Captain Rocks never created Rock's Pirate for anything, he wanted something different from what we wanted, especially. The current Captain Rocks, life has almost reached its limit, for him, everything has been completely different. But, I don't need to say more, these words are just watched quietly, everything has become different after that. Shaking his head, Alan is very calm, indeed. Everything has changed. If so, what will the future result be? This is the most interesting thing. The sea will be very interesting. Goo la la la, Newgate said interestingly. Brother. According to what you said, the next sea is probably going to be very interesting. Alan said casually. Didn't Laozi say it? The next era is ours. In that case, we just need to be prepared. 39. The two brothers looked at each other with confidence. As for the third child, forget it. The ghost knows where the third child is, and the whole person disappeared without a trace. But, for such a situation, the two brothers are relatively calm, and they have become accustomed to it over the past few years. Although Kaido said that his personality is still relatively calm, he likes drinking. Moreover, he likes to be drunk. Of course, the result of being drunk is to be rubbed on the head by two brothers. Kaido gradually became more honest, and Kaido has always liked to hang out in recent years. Although it is worth mentioning that the kid brought back by Kaido is indeed a really good aptitude. As for the younger brother of his own family, the two who are older brothers are actually kind of more casual, you can do whatever you want. How about it? There is nothing strange about this. After all, on this sea, the strong people have their own independent thoughts, and the three brothers are like this. But, all three brothers have their own goals. Alan's goal is to be the strongest in the world, to build the strongest pirate group in the world, and to become the apex of the world with absolute power. Newgate's goal was to build his own family, a family with Edward's surname. Kaido's goal is simpler, he wants to protect all his family. For many people, does it feel very strange? But, Kaido's idea is not wrong, what he experienced is completely different from what he originally experienced, even to say. Now Kaido is completely different, and now Kaido hair feel the peace from within. Therefore, Kaido is different from the original. What he pays more attention to is not madness and launching a war to destroy the world, but protecting his family. This is the goal and ambition of the three brothers, but on this road, the three brothers are working very hard to become stronger. Alan narrowed his eyes and said, by the way, how is the devil fruit collection over the past few years? Mentioning this matter, Newgate also shook his head and said, brother. It is too difficult to collect devil fruit. The collection of devil fruit can be said to be extremely difficult to handle, and the major forces do not sell it to us, and as for other means, people would rather destroy devil fruit than give it to us. No way. Alan also expressed his calmness. All this is just a short time. As time goes on, the next. But it will be different. When that time comes, everything will be completely different. The strength of the three Edward brothers is too strong, and under such circumstances, if the three Edward brothers continue to increase their strength, then their strength is too terrifying. But, this situation is really disgusting. Alan is still 2 spells short, and after so many years, he has not gotten so many devil fruits. He only got 5 devil fruits in the past 10 years. I can see it. A wisp of green smoke spit out. Alan is very calm, this time. After 4 years, Bagley, who has grown up again, walked over quickly and said, Uncle. Captain Rock said that he would let you deal with this year. The apprentice pirate selection, and It is said that there is a big move to start. Woo. Because of this, almost all the world is using various ways to limit the growth of the three Edward brothers, especially devil fruit. That is basically impossible. P.S. 5,000 word chapter. Daily 6 updates. First update. Please subscribe. Please customize. Please collect. Seriously. Chapter 110. Kaido in prison. The Lunaria family. Boom. Boom. Kaido launched a frantic attack by himself. Under such a continuous offensive, after all, Kaido was defeated. He was captured by Marine, and was finally imprisoned and slaughtered in the prison ship. Because of the result of the battle, the whole person, as a result, he passed out. Waking up in a daze, Kaido looked at the chains that bound him. Although they were all seastone chains, Kaido didn't care at all. This is Kaido's character. In other words, this is Kaido's talent. Kaido's talent is very special. In addition to the amazing strength, terrifying physique and inherently terrible resilience, the most important thing is Kaido is actually not afraid of seastone, or rather, Kaido is not even afraid of seawater. This is a very weird things. This is Kaido's own physique, or a special situation brought about by his talent. This situation makes people feel very strange. Only, this is also the reason why Kaido is called the strongest creature in the sea, land and air, you must know. If it is a guy who is afraid of the sea, is he qualified to be called the strongest creature in the sea, land and air? There is no doubt about it. Of course it is not qualified, and the most fundamental reason for Kaido is here, he is qualified to be called the strongest creature. It is because of Kaido's own talent. What? Breathing lazily, Kaido didn't care about his situation at all, and said casually, I was caught again. Where is this place? Looking around, Kaido seemed to be thinking about something. Prison ship. Although it is nominally subordinate to naval headquarters, in essence, the prison ship is subordinate to the world government. Yes, and because of that, they won't be held and impelled down. What? Sighing lazily, Kaido was already sitting up, and the chains that blocked Kaido were broken like this, it was not a level at all, or in other words. For Kaido, these are not worth mentioning at all. Moment. Alarms sounded in all directions, and with the sound of the alarm, everything seemed to be different. A large number of Marines had poured in, and they raised their guns at Kaido. Edward Kaido, stay in your cell, obediently. The leader's expression was full of indifference, his eyes were full of icy coldness, and he was full of endless disdain, but he was just a mere pirate. Since he has already come here, it is actually not worth mentioning. Just rubbish. 35. Kaido just snorted coldly, sitting cross-legged on the ground without caring, flexing his muscles and bones a little, looking around, full of indifference and boredom. Is it such a strength? Really a guy who is not worth mentioning what? Hey, you rubbish, I'm hungry, prepare some food for me, I can consider letting you go. Asshole, it's just a mere pirate, you guy, don't be too much. Roar. 35. Next moment. The monstrous heat wave directly devoured these people in an instant, and as the heat wave dissipated, all the people were directly burned to ashes. Kaido snorted coldly with disdain. It's just a bunch of rubbish, do you really consider yourself a green onion? Absolutely worthless rubbish. Wow. Kaido stood up and directly brought a lot of light, and everything was freed. He walked out of the room very skillfully, looked at the instruments, and said with disdain, it's just a bunch of garbage, you can't study anything. Understood, you still study here every day. Of course Kaido knows that Marines are researching themselves, but Kaido doesn't care at all, just a bunch of crap. Just such crap wanting to study itself. It's pure bullshit. It doesn't need to be taken seriously. Anyway, Kaido dealt with all this very calmly. Looking around, he planned to leave. 99. What a great vitality. Kaido suddenly felt something, turned his head strangely, and walked in another direction, and soon. Kaido just found his mace, carried the mace, and killed it all the way. Located in the deepest part of the prison ship, there is a special laboratory. Bump. Kaido smashed the gate with a punch, and the experimenter inside the gate roared loudly. Bastard. Who? Do you know that this is the most critical time? This is the Lunaria clan. Damn it. If there is an accident with such a precious treasure, you should be damned. Bastard. 35. With this deafening roar, the next moment, a mace was smashed directly like a watermelon. In an instant, these researchers were dealt with directly. Snapped. Kaido walked in with a mace carrying a mace, and said with disdain, cut. It's just a bunch of rubbish, and they are so arrogant, but let me see what the situation is. Soon, Kaido saw a man with jet black wings, flames burning all over his body, and a very weak man with white hair, brown skin, and a wreath-like tattoo around his left eye. In such a situation, Kaido blinked and said, are you from the Lunaria clan? He was lying on the test bench, as if he had already accepted his fate, and when he heard this voice, he raised his head dazedly. He looked at Kaido, as if he didn't understand why this person appeared here. Worororo. Interesting. Kaido laughed and said, I didn't expect that there are people from the Lunaria clan that still exist. Hey, you bastard, do you want to leave with me? Kaido became interested all of a sudden, but it turned out to be a member of the Lunaria clan. On this sea, there are many races that are different from humans, such as giants, murlocs, long-handed, and long-footed races. The races of these people above the sea, including other races, are collectively referred to as aliens. But there is a race that is the most mysterious among all the Inhumans, and that is the Lunaria race. Where did the people of this race come from? No one knows. Just know that this is one of the people who once lived in the Red Line. Race. They are called a godlike race, because this race has so many abilities. Lunaria, they have the ability to adapt to the environment in any environment, and their system is very special, with a very terrifying defensive power. This kind of defensive power, if you don't understand it, just like Linlin's steel skin, you can't even break through. This is the most normal. As for why Huang Mu hangs Jin and Quinn alone, let's talk about it first. They are admiral, corresponding to the 4 emperors, and they really beat one of the 3 big men who were in the Rabbit Bowl prison with Seastone. Disasters are inherently easy. Of course, this is still under the condition that Jin, Quinn and others are all blocked. I won't say anything else, even if they are not blocked. Just kidding. They are admiral. Again, they are admiral, and admiral corresponds to 4 emperors. Why is Marine called the overlord of the sea? There are 3 admirals in the family, including the marshals. There are 4 on the bright side. This is the strength of the Marine overlord level. It's really not something you can compare to when you're joking. Say it's changed. You are not blocked or hanged. But this is purely a hard power, not an opponent. This is an unsolved matter. Other than that, the status of the Lunaria clan is very special. Get out of here. The Lunaria people fell into silence. He shook his head and said, I don't know what else I can do if I leave here. Everything I have is gone, and now I am a mere all alone. Worororo. As that's so, in that case, do you want to be Lao Su's son? Become Lao Su's son, follow Lao Su back to Lao Su's home. Worororo. Kaido was laughing wildly, and when he heard Kaido's words, the Lunaria people were stunned, obviously. The phenomenon of human-to-human transmission has gradually begun to occur when people recognize people as sons. Worororo. Your name is Abel. Kaido smiled broadly and said, that's it. Starting today, your name will be Edward Abel. That is Laozi's son. Laozi Edward Kaido's son. I'll let you know when I go back. Lao Su's eldest brother, second brother, and your brothers and sisters. Seriously, how old is Kaido now? Kaido is 21 now, and how old is Abel? Now Abel is 9 years old. Anyway, if you do the math, it's almost the same. Kaido is Abel's father. It's not a problem at all, to be precise. In terms of strength, it's not a problem. Dad. Abel looked at Kaido and seemed to fall into silence, not knowing what to say. Actually, Abel is like this, and I don't blame Abel for being like this, because in Abel's eyes, everything has disappeared, and in his own situation, in fact, he doesn't care about a lot of everything, family. Friends. Seriously, Abel in the current situation doesn't know if this has anything to do with him. Worororo. Okay, Abel, don't think so much, you are Lao Su's son, you don't need to care so much. Kaido really doesn't matter. This is his own son. Day 2. Abel stood up and looked at Kaido, who was sleeping soundly on the ground, and the bonfire that had been extinguished. He seemed to have fallen into silence. He was thinking about something, his expression was very serious, and he murmured, is everything in the past in the past? 0. Ask for flowers. Do not know. Abel didn't even know what to say now. He fell into a very strange state. For Abel, he survived. In other words, Abel actually didn't care whether he died or not. Over time, for Abel, he saw the death of his parents, the death of his brothers and sisters, and the death of all his people, which was almost the same fate as Abel, who lost everything in this way. And to this day, now that he has a foster father. This is the strangest thing about Abel. Hee. Abel shook his head and murmured, forget it. Instead of thinking about it so much, everything is meaningless, maybe. This is my life, just look at it like this, if you cause trouble, then I'll leave. Abel didn't know that after a lot of things are lost and found, when you have them again, in fact. You are not so easy to give up, after all. If everyone can give up, that is the strangest thing, isn't it? But no matter what, Abel at this moment had a calm look, and he quietly looked into the distance. What? Kaido rubbed his brows, then came to his senses, and said casually with a breath, Abel. You kid, are you awake? Daddy. 9. Abel turned his head to look at Kaido, and a smile appeared. Worororo. With laughter, Kaido listened to Abel's name, and said carelessly, go. Go. I will take you home. By the way, Abel, your ability is the ability of the Lunaria family and can be controlled fire, right? Abel nodded, hooked with one hand, the flame burning behind his head had already fallen into his palm, and said softly, this is the ability of the Lunaria clan to control the flame. But, it is because of this ability, so, we Lunaria, endure this endless pain. 99. Snapped. Kaido patted Abel on the shoulder carelessly, and said with a carefree smile, my eldest brother said it. In the future, we will become the strongest in the world, and our brother's pirate group will be the strongest pirate group in the world. At that point, we'll kill celestial dragons. Boy, don't be too nervous. Gone. Go. 55. Go back. I will prepare you a devil fruit that is very suitable for you. 99. Roar. With this roar, Kaido rose into the sky and instantly transformed into a blue dragon. Looking at Kaido's huge figure, Abel also rose into the sky and landed on Kaido's body, following his adoptive father. This is going to the distance, the speed is very fast. The strongest player in the world. The world's #1 pirate group. Abel naturally knew what the reason was. He watched all this quietly, but fell into a kind of silence, not knowing what to say, and seemed to have a very strange feeling. Finally, Abel shook his head. He chose to believe, because Abel knew that he had no other ability, since his father said so, then he believed it. Yes, Dad, Abel doesn't care anymore. He doesn't care whether everything in front of him is real or fake. He knows that everything is irrelevant. As long as it still exists, he really doesn't care. Really, how can it be true or false? In fact, it doesn't matter. Abel only suffered endless pain, and he finally caught his hope. Even if this hope is very slim, even this hope may even be false. Abel really doesn't want to doubt. He doesn't want to doubt all of this. For Abel, this is his own hope. If he still doubts all of this, he is giving up his own hope. This is Abel's true. It's something I don't want to endure. So many years, so many years. At least, this is the case for Abel. He doesn't want to doubt, and he doesn't want to think about whether it's true or not. He just wants to believe, and it's enough. P.S. 5,000 word chapter. Daily 6 updates. Second update. Please subscribe. Please customize. Please collect. But it's just these 2 words, but. People like Abel willingly believe and admit it willingly. It doesn't mean that Abel has no brains, so he won't doubt. And Kaido don't look at him carelessly. In fact, Kaido is very clear about what Abel is thinking, but he just didn't say anything. These words. No need to say more, but just let Abel watch it himself. Well, if you look at it yourself, you will naturally understand. Rather. Chapter 111. Joey boy. What the hell is it? Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Drink. 55. The Lunaria clan. Abel. Right. Drink wine. Bagley and Tiger put their arms around Abel. It was a loud laugh of excitement. A picture of you are not polite. They are all buddies. You are polite to us. This enthusiastic picture makes Abel more or less uncomfortable. Fitting in, doesn't seem to quite understand what's going on. But, man, it will always be changed by the environment. After all, Abel is only 9 years old. Such a young age is directly exaggerated by 2 people. It didn't take long for these people to drink and brag together. Familiar with it. Gudong. After taking a big gulp of drinks, Alan said comfortably, the third child. You are a good guy. Once you went out, you turned back a Lunaria kid. Abel, right? Uncle. When Abel heard someone call him to say hello, Alan waved his hand indifferently and said, here we are, don't be too nervous, you are all brothers. You don't need to think so much. If you need to think about it at home, then too much, but it's just too boring. I see. Abel didn't know what to say, but he nodded seriously. Alan waved his hands indifferently, looked at Kaido, leaned on the sofa, and said casually, so, the third. You haven't answered me. What? Kaido hiccuped and said casually, brother. It's not a big deal. In fact, the main situation is that I went to provoke Marine, but I was besieged and defeated by others. It should be in the prison boat. As a result, I met Abel, and no, Abel became Laozi's son. Alan nodded. Very good. It's basically the same situation as what he knew about. 883. From here, you can see what is going on. In fact. Seriously, Lunaria clan, most of the people are already dead. Whether the current Abel is the only Lunaria clan is really hard to say, of course. It doesn't matter if it's not. Alan doesn't care. Just kidding. I'm not a philanthropist either. Not particularly interested in these. So, now Abel doesn't care about these things. Everything in the past has already happened. For Abel, in fact, he doesn't care much about what happened. To put it another way, what Abel wants now is the future. As for the past, that is the matter of whoever wants to be, and it has nothing to do with Laozi, and Laozi doesn't care at all. That's what Abel thinks, and Alan certainly knows what Abel thinks, too. Alan just doesn't say anything, because it's meaningless, no matter how you describe it, but one thing is for sure. Abel has become different. The current Abel is completely different from the past, because his arrival, the second child, the third child is still the current Abel. In fact, everyone's fate has undergone earth-shaking changes, because of that. Instead of thinking about these meaningless things, it is better to say that going to the future is the end, the past. It is a meaningless thing. Woo. A wisp of green smoke was exhaled, and Alan asked thoughtfully, right. Third, what kind of devil fruit are you planning to let Abel eat? 99. Seriously. Alan just thought it was outrageous. Abel's devil fruit turned out to be a mere dragon and dragon fruit and a phantom pterosaur form. This TM is simply a hidden creature. Why is the Lunaria family called godlike? Race. The reason is actually very simple. In addition to the natural talent, the more is his own talent is very amazing, and of course Abel is in this ranks, you can say it without any kind of politeness. Abel's talent is real, it's amazing, that's the most important thing. Because of this, Abel ate a top-level devil fruit, and it was real enough to grow to the level of admiral. The result, Abel finally teamed up with Quinn and was doubled by Marco. This is simply it's a shame to throw it home. You don't need to say anything, even if you close your eyes and look at it, you feel ashamed. This is really nothing to say. Woo, a wisp of blue smoke spit out, and Alan's expression was really calm. No matter what devil fruit it was, it must be given to the top devil fruit. Only in this way can Abel's strength and talent be fully displayed. 35. Kaido also put down the wine bottle and said, "Brother. According to my thoughts, I plan to give Abel the lava fruit." Abel's race, the Lunaria family, is born with the ability to control flames. With lava fruit, it is still very good, plus the ability of Logia devil fruit. Listening to this, Alan thought for a while and nodded, that's true. It's really not a big problem, let's do it tomorrow. Good. 95. Ha ha ha, everyone was laughing and drinking. For the Edward brothers and others, it was this time that they celebrated the most. Whenever new brothers and sisters joined, they would be very happy. And this, there is no doubt about it, other than that. Everyone is drinking carelessly, as the wine becomes less and less, and everyone is less and less sober, especially as Abel finally drinks after getting the Yizzy wine, one by one laughed excitedly, which is called one by one excited look. Oh hoo. With this excited roar, Abel was also very excited. He is a person with a cold personality, but at this moment, looking at the roaring people in front of him, even Abel showed a smile, with a smile on his face. Smile, full of different feelings. Is this what home feels like? For Abel, from birth, he has always endured the life of hiding, as if it had become everything to him, and at this moment, what is in front of Abel's eyes is the difference, this is the feeling of home. That's good. 35. Abel looked at the dazed people drinking one by one, and shook his head involuntarily. Under night, everyone passed out due to drinking, and Abel, who is a Lunaria clan, is actually almost impossible to drink too much. His system is very special, and it is almost impossible for any problems to arise. Woo. Breathing out a breath of foul breath, Abel stood up and looked into the distance, as if he was thinking about something. Yo, boy. Alan came over at this time, and Abel turned his head and said respectfully, "Uncle." 35. Alan waved his hand and said, "You don't need to be like this. I'm not a person who attaches great importance to these things, but, boy, I'm quite interested in your Lunaria, can you tell me?" 6695. Abel fell into silence for a short time, recalling the past involuntarily. Alan continued, "If you don't want to say it, then forget it, I just ask." Alan will not ask about some things. After all, this is Abel's painful memory. If he asks such a thing directly, then he might as well die, anyway. Alan will definitely not do such a thing. Abel shook his head and said, "Uncle, it's not like this, it's just that there are some things, I don't know where to start. But, if you think about it a little bit, everything in the past is actually very dreamy to me. That's it. I am a member of the Lunaria clan. From the moment I was born, my clan, my relatives, my brothers and sisters died one by one. They were either taken away and finally died as experiments, or I was directly arrested and killed, and I was reduced to a test subject, enduring the experiment day by day." Quote. Abel looked at Kaido, who was lying on the deck, sleeping soundly, and smiled. "Until he is found by Dad. My brother is willing to take me in, this is something I have never felt before." Alan pouted and said, "Sure enough, it is indeed what the world government will do, but, Abel, normally, there are almost not many Lunarias left on the sea now, right? As the Aborigines of the Red Line, the Lunaria people were called gods 800 years ago, and such a race is naturally very special. It's just, with the passage of time, everything has become completely different. There is absolutely no doubt about this, after all. It has been so many years, it can be said. It is very difficult for the Lunaria family to still be alive. Who knows, the Lunaria family, what is the result? At this point, there is no need to doubt at all. It is not easy for the Lunaria clan to have Abel left, after all. 800 years have passed since the slaughter and pursuit of the world government. In the long period of time, no matter what happened. In fact, there is no need for strange things. That's it. Abel shook his head and said, "Uncle, actually, I'm not particularly clear. Since I was born, I have been fleeing, and so on, until I have become a test product. I don't know much about the other Lunaria clan." Well, Alan waved his hand and said casually, "I don't know, it's not a big deal anyway. I just asked casually, that's all. Take a good rest." Alan turned around and left, mainly. It's not what he pretended to be, but he was really just asking casually, although he said he was interested in the Lunaria family, but at most it was just casual, just ask. Otherwise, study the Lunaria by yourself, why are they so adaptable? Find out about the horse charm. Why are their defenses and vitality so strong? Find out about the dog charm. Otherwise, find out why they can control the flames. Learn about the dragon charm and the pig charm. So, this is pure nonsense. Alan really doesn't care about these things. Very casual. These things, they are not a big deal. It's just a small problem. T1. Abel looked at Alan and left casually. He seemed to be thinking about something, and finally shook his head. He didn't say anything, and he knew that he didn't seem suitable to say something. Under night, everyone fell into a deep sleep, as if only someone can attack and destroy everything directly. It's a pity. If someone really thinks this way, then they will pay the price of their lives. Stop it. It's so easy there. If it's really that easy, then it's the most bizarre thing. The three Edward brothers and everyone, they are not idiots. Although they are resting, their strength is still there. Yes, it can be said. On this sea, you want to make a sneak attack. That is not an easy task. Equals B. Abel just woke up and walked out of the room to see the brothers Alan, Newgate, and Kaido who were arguing about something. Hey, 99. Hey, 55. Kaido said unhappily. Big brother. Second brother. I didn't say that Captain Rox asked us to be in charge of the selection of apprentice pirates. Isn't this nonsense? I'm not interested in this matter. Shut up you. Newgate glanced at Kaido and complained. You bastard. Calm down a little bit for me, third. It's a small matter, but Captain Rox informed me that the most important thing is the big move recently, okay. 55. Big move. Kaido was stunned for a moment, as if he didn't know much, while Alan shook his head and said, I can guess what this thing is, but I researched it recently, but I didn't find this place. 39. Where is it? Yes. The Valley of the Gods. The Valley of the Gods. When Abel heard this familiar name, he was instantly stunned. 35. The three brothers turned their heads, and Alan asked, Abel, do you know what the Valley of the Gods is? Kaido threw the lava fruit directly and said, Abel, this is the devil fruit for you. Okay, Daddy. 35 feet. Abel ate the devil fruit, even if it was very unpalatable, he didn't care at all, but ate the devil fruit in big gulps, and then Abel replied, Uncle, I know some gods. Valley information. Oh, Alan was immediately interested, and said interestingly, tell me about it. Really, what kind of hell is the Valley of the Gods? Seriously, although I said it was Transmigrator 5.9, but I really don't know what the Valley of the Gods is. After all, in the original book, the Valley of the Gods is the place where celestial dragons meet, and Rox wants to put celestial dragons and their slaves are directly destroyed. For this statement, Alan couldn't help but want to complain. Wouldn't anyone really think that the ruler of the world government is celestial dragons? Don't make trouble. It's just like nonsense. Celestial dragons are the rulers of the world government. This is the same thing as bullshit. So, Alan thinks, there should be other problems. So, P.S. 5,000 word chapter. Daily 6 updates. Third update. Please subscribe. Please customize. Please collect. Among the information we know, there is a special person. This person is Joey Boy, and Joey Boy has the power to unify all Inhumans. With us, he will be unparalleled strong. Will end all battles. That's the intelligence I know. Although Abel described it a bit, he still couldn't help but complain. This is information that almost all Inhumans know, of course. It should be the top floor, and because of this, the Valley of the Gods is where Joey Boy was born. Or, there must be other reasons behind this incident, but what other reasons are behind this incident? Or in other words, what other reasons are there? Alan is really not clear about this, and even said that there is no people know that. Alan rubbed his chin, thinking, so, what the hell is Joey Boy? Abel shook his head and nodded again. Uncle. This matter, in fact. How can I say? Chapter 112. Apprentice Pirate Selection. Reproduce the coin grab game. What the hell is Joy Boy? According to Abel, this is an existence that will appear every few years, and he will lead all the Inhumans, thus creating a world full of laughter and laughter. Well, this is the saying, this is what the Inhumans know about Joey Boy. Alan narrowed his eyes slightly, and after a moment of silence, he shook his head and said, forget it. Forget it. This thing is basically meaningless. For us, Joey Boy doesn't mean much. Indeed, everyone keeps admitting that there is really nothing wrong with this statement, it just seems outrageous, this is just like making a joke, what is Joy Boy like this? But, Alan rubbed his chin and pondered. In this way, it's probably because you know what the Valley of the Gods is. Obviously, Captain Rox probably knew something interesting, so he chose to attack God. Valley. The Valley of the Gods. It is said that the celestial dragons bring their own slaves to the meeting place, and Captain Rox intends to kill all the celestial dragons and the slaves of the celestial dragons, so that they can rule the world. The situation is obviously a more outrageous thing, or rather, it's like a joke, especially after Abel told what he knew, everyone actually understood more or less, and what was the answer? Actually, the goal of Captain Rox is not the so-called celestial dragons in the Valley of the Gods. On the contrary, the real goal is the so-called Joy Boy. As for what happened to Joy Boy, this is the most interesting thing. Newgate thought about it and said, brother, in such a situation, it's quite interesting. Does Captain Rox also want to be Joey Boy? Abel shook his head and said, second uncle, it's hard to say, but one thing is certain, if you are not a member of the D family, no matter how hard you try, you will never be able to become Joey Boy. What? Kaido nodded and said, Captain Rox is a member of the D family, his full name is Rox D. Zebek. This. Abel 06 shook his head and said, then I just don't know. 99. Okay. Alan waved his hand and said, it's not a big deal anyway, no matter what happens in the Valley of the Gods, it's enough for us to know a little bit, it's not a big deal anyway. Prepare to set sail and deal with the apprentice pirates first. The selection, then. We are also about to start action. 35. Listening to Alan's words, everyone nodded earnestly. Good. It's time for everything to start, obviously. With the big action at Rox Pirate, everything that follows is already very different, so to speak. What's next on the ocean is going to be very different. It is undeniable that Joy Boy may be very special, and Luffy seems to be very special after transforming into Joy Boy. It's just that Alan doesn't care about these things at all, special. Maybe. But, I don't care if you are special at all. The reason is very simple, on this sea, no matter how special it is, in fact. It is a meaningless thing, only strength. This is the most important thing, as long as the strength is strong, everything is unnecessary, just a lot of things to say. Wow. The pirate ship sailed on the sea at a very fast speed, gradually moving towards the distance, while Alan narrowed his eyes slightly, looking into the distance, as if he was thinking about something. Joy Boy, Captain Rox, 35, the Valley of the Gods. Nika fruit. Alan integrated all the information he knew a little, and thought secretly, so. In the end, everything is in Raftel, but. Forget it. It doesn't make much sense. Thinking about these things, but what if you say Alan is really interested in all this? This is pure nonsense. To be joking, Alan doesn't even take it seriously, or even says it is true. It's completely disrespectful, and it's more appropriate to describe it this way. This is not a joke, but a real fact. In Alan's view, what are these so-called truths hidden in history? Or, do these ghosts have any use? It's purely useless. It's meaningless at all, that's all. That's the most fundamental reason, because what Alan trusts will be his own strength, as long as his own strength's strong enough, then that is the most important thing, as for everything else. It's all nonsense. I just don't care, and that's what Alan thinks. Maybe some people do, but, anyway. Alan is really not interested in everything else, because of these. For Alan, it can really be described as meaningless. Woo. Breathing out a puff of smoke, Alan pondered in his heart. No matter what, if you know these things, you know them, but if you don't know them, forget it. In fact, it's just meaningless things, and I am also about these things. Not at all interested. It is undeniable, just like what Alan said, if you really know, I will treat it as if you were listening to the excitement. If you know it, but if you don't know it, it doesn't really matter. Anyway, I don't care about such a thing at all. Bagley, how long will it take to reach the destination? Listening to Alan's question, Bagley looked at it and said, Uncle. It's almost time to calculate, and we can arrive in 4 hours at most. It is good. Alan nodded, not caring at all about the situation. Wow. As the waves churned, the pirate ship galloped away into the distance, and then, if nothing else, was the last selection of the apprentice pirates of Rox Pirate. The selection of apprentice pirates. Actually, this is the same as the choice of the affiliated pirates. For Rox Pirate, this is an action every year. What is the main reason? It is just to keep fresh blood, and in addition, other everything is really meaningless. Or, in fact, the increase of candidates in this way has little power, but for the entire Rox Pirate, this kind of action must continue every year, or in other words, Rox Pirate has almost reached its limit, and under such circumstances, it is almost impossible to continue to stimulate the Rox Pirate through any other power. Because of this, the only way to stimulate the Rox Pirate a little bit, in other words, is to use this method to slightly delay the internal conflicts that are about to erupt in the Rox Pirate. How long can it last? In fact, it is self-evident. What? Just a bunch of rubbish. 35. Not worth mentioning at all. That's right. A large number of pirates looked around, full of disdain and self-confidence. For them, they are all very arrogant. The reason is very simple. They are all very confident, and they can definitely join the Rox Pirate people. As for the others, it's just a bunch of rubbish. Of course, this idea is that among all the pirates, each of them is like this, and it is even said that some people have begun to gradually rub against each other, and even conflict. However, these things are still a little bit for the time being. Be restrained, at least. If there are too many problems, then it is not a very good thing after all. Because of this, these pirates are restraining themselves, but it can be seen from the root that for these madmen, their so-called restraint is actually looking for opportunities. Asshole. Do you believe that Laozi killed you? It's just a piece of garbage. Don't talk so much. Get away from me. I don't mean to take you in my eyes. Bastard. Year. What? One by one, the pirates looked at each other, and the terrifying killing intent almost burst out. But, just at this time, wow, a pirate ship that seemed to be left behind after a battle full of holes was sailing slowly, and the atmosphere seemed to become weird for a while. The pirates who were ready to fight. Everyone, at this moment, their eyes widened in disbelief, even though they all wanted to join the Rocks pirate. But seriously, for these guys, it's not bad to be able to join. I really never dreamed that it would be such a monster this time. Is that the pirate ship of the three Edward brothers? F***K. Why are these three monsters appearing here? 35. Damn it. It's really too scary, isn't it? All the pirates are full of disbelief and wide-eyed, it is too terrifying. No matter who it is, no one must have imagined that the person who came to Rock's pirate is like a monster like Edward the third brother. It is undeniable to say. In this long period of time, if anyone is the most terrifying monster in Rock's pirate, then as long as it is an individual, it is very clear. Brother Edward, these are the three real terrifying monsters. The most important thing is that the power of these three monsters has always been so terrifying, and it is recognized by everyone. I'm coming. Demon. Whitebeard. Xinglong. 39. Wow. And the black tiger and the sunfish, what the hell? Isn't this too terrifying? The person who came to select this time turned out to be such a person. For a while, all the pirates became excited. For them, joining the Rocks pirate was just the first step. If they could join the three Edward brothers, the benefits they would get would be enormous. Because of this, everyone is gearing up and getting ready. Goo la la la. Looking at everyone on this island, Newgate laughed interestingly and said, "Brother. According to the number of people, there should be tens of thousands of people, right?" "What?" Alan said casually. "There's nothing strange about it, after all. Rock's pirate recruits about the same number of apprentice pirates every year, with a minimum of tens of thousands of people, which seems to be a matter of course." Listening to Alan's words, everyone nodded in agreement. That's true. It's true that there is nothing wrong with this matter. It's not a strange thing. It is undeniable to say. Rock's pirate is the most terrifying monster in the world. The recruitment of apprentice pirates every year is like 1,000 troops crossing a single plank bridge. The number of people who can come to this island is more than 10,000. So, what about those who have no way to get here? In fact, it is completely self-evident, no joke, the power of these people will only become more and more terrifying. Because with the passage of time, those who can come here will not be weak. 887. Pity. That's on the premise that Rock's pirate can exist for hundreds, if not hundreds, of years, and now Rock's pirate is coming to an end. It's all here, it's over. After this year, Rock's pirate is going to disappear completely, and everything will come to an end. If so, what will the next result be? In fact, it is self-evident. But, Alan said interestingly, second and third, what way do you think to choose? This is the number of more than 10,000 people. What? Both of them squinted their eyes interestingly and thought about it. Seriously, every year, because the people selected are different, the number of people brought back is also different. Some people don't need to be selected at all, they just take all of them away, while some people only have 70 or 80 people left. Some people have more. All in all, it's basically like this, almost everyone has their own different ideas, and what is the selection of the three Edward brothers this time? This is the most interesting thing. In this case, Alan is thinking about the situation in front of him, seriously. It's really hard to say, no matter what, it seems to be something that needs to be thought about, after all. Such a selection, no matter how you look at it, there are many the problem. Alan narrowed his eyes slightly, and while thinking about this matter, he thought, by the way, what do you think of the game of coin grabbing? Snatch coins. Goo la la la. 55. Newgate was stunned for a moment, then laughed and said, "Brother. This game is not bad." Kaido also nodded and said, "No problem, but, brother, how many coins do you have prepared?" Alan turned his head and said, "Bagley is going to prepare 10 silver coins." 35. What? When you get into it, you just naturally go crazy. In this case, according to the character of these lunatics, it is a question whether they can really be left alone. Although, even if some people are not lunatics, when you enter this killing scene, you will inevitably fall into this situation. In madness, this is not something you can change, or rather, this is not something anyone is entitled to change. Bagley had no problem, and after a brief misunderstanding, he said, "Uncle. No problem, I see." Bagley was stunned, although it was said that the number of people selected was different each time, but, in short, there are still a lot of people, and it turned out that there were only 10 people this time. And Bagley went to get the silver coins, and Alan watched with interest. P.S. 5,000 word chapter. Daily 6 updates. 4th update. Please subscribe. Please customize. Please collect. Chapter 113. Bloody Battle. The only 6 remaining. Hey, boys. Alan looked at the people in front of him, the corners of his mouth grinned, and he said savagely, "Shut up, Lao Su. Moment. The battlefield became eerily silent, and everyone looked at Alan silently. Alan grinned and said casually, "Little brats. I know what your purpose is. Because of this, I give you a chance. There are 10 silver coins in it. For all of you it's all like this, as long as the person who gets the silver coins is a member of the Rocks Pirate, and not an apprentice pirate, but a real pirate." Gudong. Almost all of them were swallowing saliva. The gold and silver treasures you can get as an apprentice pirate in Rocks Pirate are very rare, but if you become a full-fledged pirate, it will be different, and the benefits of the headquarters and affiliated pirates are completely different. Therefore, everyone is extremely excited. Only endless greed is revealed in their eyes. Everyone is like this. They are full of endless greed, as if they want to swallow everything up. This terrifying greed has been get them ready. Humph. The corners of Alan's mouth twitched, and he continued, "That's right. Others who didn't get silver coins, but were not eligible to join the Rocks Pirate, all died here." 6695. Moment. The atmosphere has become eerily silent. Everyone's expressions have stopped, and for a while, it seems to have become abnormally silent. Everyone is like this. They don't know what to say, even to say. It's extremely weird. Immediately after that, everyone seemed to be crazy and made a terrifying roar, and this scene was the most exciting. For these pirates, they are not afraid of any death at all, on the contrary. For these crazy guys, what they look forward to most is crazy battles, as long as they can defeat their opponents, that's the best. Isn't it? Therefore, right now, everyone's eyes were flashing with endless greed, as if they were all ready, but Alan's mouth twitched and said casually, "Then. Everything has begun. Little cubs, live a good life. Go down." 55. Ha ha ha. As 10 silver coins were thrown into the isolated island, Alan turned around and returned to the pirate ship step by step. "Uncle," Bagley asked. "In this case, with such a small number of people left this time, isn't it difficult for Captain Rocks to say?" Alan shook his head and said, "Just a small problem. It's not a big deal at all. For Captain Rocks, this matter is actually a non-issue. You have also heard that Rocks Pirate has its own big move this year. It is because so, these things are actually meaningless things. To be honest, whether it is the selection of the apprentice pirates or the selection of the subordinate pirates, these. For Rocks Pirate, it is actually meaningless, at least. For Captain Rocks, it is really not at all. In the eyes of things, no matter what kind of things, they are things that they don't care about." This. Bagley was stunned for a moment, then thought for a while, but nodded, "Indeed. All of this, or, in other words, such a situation, for Rocks Pirate, it really doesn't matter at all, at least. Captain Rocks wouldn't care at all. Okay. These things have nothing to do with us." 35. Alan said casually. "We just have to wait and watch the fun and see if there are any good seedlings. If there are good seedlings, stay." 99. Okay, Uncle. Bagley also stopped thinking about it so much. It was indeed a meaningless thing, and he simply didn't bother to think about it, since it was a meaningless thing. Alan just quietly looked at the battlefield in front of him, obviously. The battlefield has gradually become chaotic, but many people are still maintaining restraint and did not take action immediately, otherwise. The battle situation at this moment is probably already completely insane is no exaggeration. Looking at the battlefield in front of him, Newgate said casually, "Brother. Can you see any good seedlings?" Obviously. As the war in the Valley of the Gods is about to break out, it is no joke that Rocks Pirate has come to the brink of destruction, and at this time, if you can recruit a group of people with outstanding qualifications, then the benefits are also very good. Alan rolled his eyes and said, "Do you think my observation hockey is omnipotent? How could I possibly see how a person's aptitude is? Wait and see. Let's see how many people survived, others instead, it's nothing." Listening to Alan's words, Newgate nodded calmly, "Indeed. Just like what his eldest brother said, if that's the case, you'll know when you see it. It's not a big deal anyway, it's the truth anyway." For many people, the selection of apprentice pirates is often a good thing. This is an important thing for the expansion of their own strength, after all. The strength of these apprentice pirates is not weak, otherwise, it's impossible to come here, right? But here's the problem. How comfortable would it be if you could bring these people under your control? Obviously. There is absolutely no doubt about that. And because of this, for a long time, basically everyone is very interested in these selections, of course. Shiki is really not interested in these. In Shiki's words, it is just a group of mere little devils. When will I need it? With the devil. This is what Shiki thinks. What if you say that there is something wrong with Shiki's thinking? Well, it's really not a big problem, after all. Shiki's character is like this, he is not interested in such people at all, I don't care at all, to put it bluntly. In Shiki's eyes, these guys are pure rubbish, and I don't care to have any connection with them. But it is different for the three Edward brothers. The three Edward brothers pay more attention to their own training, and the strength they have cultivated is absolutely very important, and because of this. There is absolutely no doubt about this, and you can be welcome. It is said that the three Edward brothers are different from others, and they attach great importance to this. And, at this moment, the entire battlefield has become completely different. Kill. Go on. Oh who. 35. With this roar, the originally silent battlefield opened in an instant. It can be said, these pirates, one by one, are like terrifying lunatics. At this moment, they have no subordinates. Mercy means. Crackling. The curtain was opened directly, and the ruthlessness of their attack was absolutely beyond doubt. Tick-tock. Tick-tock. The blood was dripping drop by drop, and the pirates had fallen one by one. For them, they have really reached their limit, which is absolutely beyond doubt. It is undeniable that no matter what the outcome is, there is absolutely no doubt that they will die here. That's the only result. The selection of apprentice pirates at Rock's Pirate. It's not that easy, even to say. It's an extremely terrifying, even brutal, fight for anyone. There is only such a battle, so if you want to decide the winner. It's not an easy thing. Humph. A cruel smile appeared, and a man directly defeated the enemy in front of him. It seemed that his age was only in his teens, but the strength he showed was extremely powerful. He. Is that all there is to it? It's just not worth mentioning, is it? His eyes were full of disdain, but this young man waved his weapon and joined the battlefield again. This is true for them pirates. Don't hesitate. Remember, never hesitate. Even if it is just the slightest hesitation, then the result will be the price of life. And when it really reaches this level, then the result is self-evident. You will only pay the price of your life. These guys will never show mercy. They may not be lunatics, but the people who can come to this island, at least, are absolutely ruthless when it comes to attacking. They know that they are not qualified to be merciful, and if they are just the slightest careless, they will pay with their own lives. Tick-tock. Tick-tock. As the blood dripped, a woman looked around, holding a huge long sword, and said sharply, "Just kidding. Don't look down on me. The strength of you guys is just that." Quote. Snapped. Stepping on the ground with one foot, her speed is extremely fast, and she has already joined the battlefield in an instant. She has slaughtered these pirates, and her powerful strength can be said to be displayed to the fullest. Pass. Crackling. Crackling. In a short period of time, the entire battlefield seemed to have fallen into silence. Bump. Bump. With such a roar resounding, everyone is looking for their opponents, catching and fighting. For a while, the battle situation has become extremely terrifying. What will the next result be? In fact, it is self-evident. You matter. This isolated island has become a bloody battlefield. Everyone is like a madman. They will only defeat their opponents again and again. They will only behead their opponents again and again, and that's all. They either lived or were killed. This is the only result. And, in such a battlefield, want to maintain reason. It is almost impossible. If a person can maintain reason in such a battlefield, then it is the most terrible thing. What is the strength of this person? How terrifying will it be? In fact, it is self-evident. Brush. The figure that swept away, holding a long sword, roared frantically, "You guys. You are nothing but rubbish. Don't look down on Laozi. Watch Laozi kill you. Come on Laozi. Kill." 35. Kill. What responded to him was a deafening roar, and a large number of pirates rushed up as fast as they were crazy, and only terrifying light flickered in their eyes, because of this. Bump. Bump. The sound of violent collision resounded, and the sound of such fighting reverberated throughout the island at this moment, and everyone was already caught in this frenzied battlefield. On the other side, Abel looked at the battlefield and said with a slight sigh, "Is this the selection of Rock's Pirates personnel? But it's really scary. The battlefield is completely like a nightmare, and it really makes people feel endlessly terrified." What? Tiger stood beside Abel and nodded in agreement. However, normally, this is usually not the case. Those who come to the selection will basically take over these people, but the uncle valued only the powerful elites. Other than that, he was not interested in everything else. 35. Abel agreed. The strength that elites can bring is more important. It is undeniable to say. This is what Abel is good at. He is also a person who believes in the law of the weak, or in other words. For Abel, it is no exaggeration that he is the person who believes in the law of the weak. This is not a strange thing. As a member of the Lunaria clan, Abel has been chasing and killing almost all the time since he was born. Death. Experiment. It's not easy for Abel to not be an extreme guy. However, Bagley observed the battlefield, and said interestingly, "Look. On the battlefield, it seems that there are about 7 or 8 people who are the most outstanding. The average age of these people is not young. If there is no accident, these people should be all will join us." Abel observer battlefield, that's true. Although the age of the people selected this time cannot exceed 25 years old, the strength gap under this age is still very terrifying, after all. When Alan was in his 20s, that directly killed Marine Admiral. From here it can be seen that the gap in strength is always so obvious. At this moment, on the battlefield of the isolated island, the most outstanding people are about 7 or 8 people, Qian Zhao, and they don't seem to be particularly old. Most of them are in their teens. Of course, this is also very interesting. What is the next result? This is the most interesting thing. So, we can just watch it quietly. Bagley put his hands in his pockets, and looked at it interestedly. If there is no accident, it won't take long for the battle to end, after all. Although there are many of these people, the gap in strength is still very obvious. Guillaume looked at the battlefield, although he said. Guillaume's character is a very gentle person, but after all, he is a child who grew up following Alan. How could he be a child who doesn't understand anything? Quite the opposite. Guillaume's talent and aptitude are very outstanding, even very amazing. In such a situation, you don't have to think about it. How outstanding is Guillaume? But P.S. 5,000 word chapter. Daily 6 updates. 5th update. Please subscribe. Please customize. Please collect. How many people have a beginning like Guillaume? They have Alan's teaching from childhood to adulthood, and they have the power of horse charm to reply, it can be said. From childhood to adulthood, Guillaume and others are very different things, and because of that, are fundamentally different. But 66.99. Listening to Guillaume's words, Bagley, Tiger, and Abel all laughed and shook their heads, which is true. But you have to admit, these words are not wrong. They really grew up in wild ways. I didn't say anything about this, after all, it's my sister, it's not a strange thing. It's also very normal, it's not strange. It's very normal, let's talk about it. This is the only righteous daughter of the uncle. Tiger. Guillaume said. Although it is said, the strength of these people is still good. But they seem very immature. In general, they all grew up in wild ways. Chapter 114. Whitebeard, Epoida, Andre, Doma, Squard, Makuge. A wisp of blue smoke spit out. Alan looked at the battlefield, and said casually, it looks like the battle is almost over. The strength of a group of brats is not bad. The second, the third, wait and see. If you feel good, then take away. No problem, brother. Okay. Both Newgate and Kaido nodded calmly, and both brothers expressed their calmness. This is a small problem. Of course. For the 3 Edward brothers, everyone is very calm. These things are small problems. The strength, wealth, and personnel accumulated by the 3 brothers are already strong enough. Next, as long as the Rock's pirate ends, the brand knew there is absolutely no doubt about the fact that the pirates can set sail in an instant. Keep watching. But, Alan squinted at the battlefield, and said interestingly, it is indeed a group of familiar figures, very interesting. Let me see, what is the strength of you brats? A smile appeared, but Alan found it very interesting. There were indeed many familiar figures. These figures, just by looking at them, knew that they were very destined to the second kid. It is undeniable to say. The strength of the Whitebeard Pirates in Newgate's original book is really not weak, but it's a pity. It's just the naval headquarters. Naval headquarters is too strong, not that the Whitebeard Pirates are too weak. Exclamation mark. The 16 squad leaders and the 43 pirate group leaders under their banners are almost all very good. It's a pity. Newgate is too doting on his own children, making them almost they have never grown up, and in such a situation, naturally a lot of troubles have arisen, otherwise. A lot of everything. I don't know how righteousness has reached such a point. There is absolutely no doubt about this. But, that was in the past, or rather. Those are all stories in dreams, what is the truth about now? Everything has become completely different. At least, Alan will never allow this stinky house in his own home. The kid did such an idiot thing. Spoil. Habits are like killers. This sentence is always true, especially on this dangerous sea, if you dote on these little devils too much. Then the result is that you might as well kill them directly, so that it may be for them rather a good thing. Woo. A wisp of blue smoke was exhaled, and Alan said secretly, there are some things. You still have to be prepared, otherwise, it will be a very troublesome 887 thing. Alan squinted his eyes slightly, his expression gradually returned to calm, and once again put his eyes on the battlefield in front of him, and as time passed, the battlefield has gradually returned to calm, and the remaining people have become more and more less. Same. Among the remaining people, the 6 most powerful people have already shown themselves. They are gradually sweeping the battlefield. Although they are still relatively weak, among these opponents, they are already showing their strength. And out of a very strong strength. It is an unspoken power. Snapped. With the slow footsteps, one by one opponents were dealt with, and this was a beautiful girl with ice blue long hair who looked almost in her teens. She held a long sword and quickly swept away. The enemy in front of you. Tick-tock. The blood dripped drop by drop, her eyes swept across everyone sharply, and she said calmly, is there only such an opponent? It's totally worthless. Raising her head proudly, she was full of Hockey's full expression. Whitby. A very beautiful woman. Among pirates, it is undeniable. Powerful pirates are generally men, and it is actually very difficult for a woman to become a powerful pirate, except for someone with extraordinary talent like Linlin. Outside. Either Guillaume is a qualified penultimate, and Whitebeard belongs to the latter. Although it is not as good as Guillaume, he is also a very qualified penultimate. With his penultimate qualification, he allows himself to grow step by step and become a now this can stand here man. It can be said unceremoniously that it is already very good that Whitey Bay can stand here. Brush. Holding the ice blue long sword, Whitebeard swept away all the enemies in front of him, then picked up the silver coins on the ground, and slowly wiped the dust on the silver coins. He raised his head, looked into the distance, and murmured, "This is one of the victories. I don't know if I can join Brother Edward." Whitebeard looked at everything in front of him, but fell into a kind of thought. It is undeniable to say. In fact, Whitby is looking forward to joining the 3 Edward brothers. As long as he is a child with a little brain, in fact, if he can choose, they will choose the 3 Edward brothers. The reason is very simple. They really protect their shortcomings. For Whitby Bay, or rather, for people of this type in Whitby Bay, they all hope so, and everyone hopes AGFJ to have a brand new future. They are pirates, not because they were pirates from birth, but because they were forced to become pirates after experiencing the pain of breaking down their families. And Whitby is one of them. Eyes frowned slightly, and Whitby turned around suddenly, holding a long sword, slashing sharply, and a figure fell down. Whiteby looked around, watching a group of people besieged again. Obviously, these people will not be so easy to give up. This is the best opportunity for Whiteby, and the same. For them, this is also the best opportunity. No matter who it is, no one will give up of. Bring it on. With a long sword in hand, Whiteby is ready for everything. On the other side, boom, boom. Compared to Whiteby, this man is much fatter. He wears a striped suit like a caterpillar, and his eyes are covered by bangs. He holds a shovel. Although he is only in his teens, it is true that he starts open and close. There is really no meaning of mercy. Following the attack again and again, he wiped the sweat from his forehead and murmured, "These guys are really difficult to handle. The strength of each one is really strong." But his eyes hidden under the bangs looked at Newgate in the distance, and he showed a serious look. He murmured, "Master Whitebeard, I must join your command." 35. Epoida. This is his name. He is an orphan, or rather, he used to have his own family, but when his family was slaughtered by pirates, when he felt endless despair, I saw the person who took care of everything. Edward Newgate. At that time, Newgate dealt with all the pirates by himself. All this. For Epoida, he worked hard, became stronger. What is it for? In fact, the reason is very simple. For Epoida, all he wants is to join the Rocks Pirate and become the Edward brothers. He is not interested in anything other than that. No kidding. Epoida really respects Newgate very much, and regards Newgate as his goal. The sharp-eyed Epoida stared into the distance, and suddenly whispered, "You guys. I will definitely win. No one can stop me." Brush. Holding a shovel, Epoida has already entered the battlefield directly. These people. No matter what, they absolutely cannot stop themselves. This is their own silver coin. No matter who they are, as long as they dare to stop themselves, they must pay with your life for this. Come on. 35. Who is afraid of whom? I will kill you. Afraid of you. 35. With this angry roar, this man joined the battlefield. He was only in his teens, with curly hair, a huge body, a square chin and lips, and teeth like sharp teeth. Same. Holding a big sword, he directly smashed into the crowd, and these hilarious pirates were directly defeated. The two sides seemed not to be on the same level at all. From the beginning to the end, this battle ended like this fight. Snapped. Looking around, his eyes are sharp enough, like a terrifying monster. What? Wei Wei was dressed roughly, but he walked over step by step, picked up the silver coins on the ground, and said in a low voice, "Brother, I will prove that you are wrong. And I am right." 95. Andre. This is his name, and he is Gondeli, who has a brother, and the two brothers are brothers. It was still the same fate. They were attacked by pirates, and their home was destroyed, but after the destruction, the two brothers chose different paths. Gondeli chose to become a marine. He joined Marine, ready to clean up the pirates. But Andre made a different choice. He became a pirate, ready to become a pirate to kill his former enemy. But no matter which one it was, this also represented the parting of the two brothers. Before the separation, the brothers, when the two fought each other, it seemed that they all wanted to defeat the other party, and then let the other party's followers leave by themselves. It's a pity. The result is like this. It's no longer important. I will not lose. 99. Brother, I will prove that I am right. Andre clenched his fists, put away the silver coins, and then joined the battlefield with a sharp light in his eyes, but he would not have any intention of showing mercy. Brush. This is a swordsman with two swords in the reverse hand. He looks young, only about 12 or 13 years old, but his strength is very strong. Holding two swords, he quickly defeated one by one the enemy, and on his shoulder is a small monkey, which looks very small. You lose. Holding a long knife, he defeated all the enemies step by step, and said with sharp eyes, "For me. You are simply not qualified. You are not opponents at all. Bastard." 35. Damn brat. Damn it. The faces of these pirates were very ugly, but unfortunately, they were not opponents at all. Their faces fell to the ground with ugly faces, and eventually lost all consciousness. Doma, who was born as a pirate since childhood, is very clear that if he is merciful, or if he is not ruthless, these pirates will not be merciful to him. Doma, unlike other children whose families were ruined, he was a pirate from birth. Because his pirate group was destroyed, he chose to join Rock's pirate. Although he didn't know if it was successful, Doma wanted to give it a try. Picking up the silver coins on the ground, Doma glanced at it, and then continued to walk not far away. The battle was about to end. As a qualified swordsman, he would never back down here. Brush, brush. Holding a sword that surpassed himself, his eyes were unusually sharp, and he said savagely, "You guys. It's all for Laozi to get out of the way. Laozi is not comparable to your fellow opponents." His eyes were terrifying enough, and he defeated all the enemies step by step, secretly saying, "Roger. You bastard, I will kill you. I will definitely kill you." Squad. This is his name, and the pirates he once belonged to, all his companions were killed by the Roger Pirates, because of this. His hatred is very huge, he wants to kill the Roger Pirates all. But, Squad knew that he couldn't do it with his own power alone, and that's why he chose to join the Rock's Pirate. He must succeed, he wants to be a part of the Rock's Pirate, that's all. He was able to kill this guy Roger. Of course. In fact, from his heart, Squad is also pursuing new things. He is a person who hopes to get a companion. Although he is very careful, he is also an impulsive person. But the same, Squard's heart is also in pursuit of companions, longing for family. There is really no doubt about this. Because of this, after picking up his own silver coin, Squard also murmured, "Although I don't know if I have this qualification, but I really want to join the three Edward brothers." Muttering these words, Squard turned around and left. The battle is not over yet, so he still can't let his guard down. Tick-tock, tick-tock. The blood swiped drop by drop. These pirates' eyebrows, throats, and hearts, the three vital points are either scarred or penetrated, and their lives have reached the limit with this drop of blood, which seems to prove that what is their strength in the end, or how the result is the same. Humph. 35. It's not worth mentioning at all. This is a man holding a western sword. He has blonde hair and a very thin body. He seems to be very weak, but this is just showing. His strength is not weak, that weak body, it showed amazing strength. Humph. Just because of you. 39. He swept over everyone one by one, and said with disdain, "I don't put you in my eyes at all, this is my chance. And all of you, get up for me. Lord Whitebeard." He turned his head, and the whole person looked at the direction of the pirate ship reverently. His hometown was saved by Newgate's hands, although Newgate did not mean it, but for his mother's orphans, he has regarded Newgate as a beacon in his heart. Because of this, Makugai chose to join the Rock's Pirate. Although he is relatively young, his strength is not weak at all, but he has shown a very strong strength, turning all the enemies around him into one's defeat. All in all, no matter what the process is and what the reason is, in fact, this is no longer important. With the passage of time, in the end, 6 winners have been gradually born. Even though Alan threw down 10 silver coins, but as Alan said, the final winner is probably these 6 people. P.S. 5,000 word chapter. Daily 6 updates. 6th update. Please subscribe. Please customize. Please collect. Chapter 115. Return. Strong little devils. Tick-tock. Tick-tock. With the drop of blood dripping, as if everything has returned to calm, how many people did this isolated island have? There are only 6 people. White Bay, Apoida, Andre, Doma, Squard, Makuge. 6 people, they are the final winners, although everyone is covered with scars, even saying. The blood has penetrated the silver coins one by one, but they still clench the silver coins in their hands, and their eyes are very firm. For them, this is their best chance. If you can't seize this opportunity, everything will be meaningless. Wow, wow. The pirate ship sailed slowly, and Alan looked at the 6 little devils with interest, and said with approval, "Not bad. You 6 little devils have survived among so many people, but since you are already the final winners, if you let you die like this, Laozi also thinks it's not very good." With one hand open, the divine power of the horse talisman melted into their bodies, in an instant. Everything about them was restored, as if all the injuries had never existed, their bodies were restored, only the body strength has not recovered. Doma clenched his fists in shock and murmured, "What kind of power is this?" Whiteby whispered, "Is this the Rock's pirate monster?" Squard's eyes widened. He knew a piece of news. When the 3 Edward brothers fought against the Roger Pirates on the Fishmen Island, he must join the 3 Edward brothers. These 3 adults have the opportunity to take revenge on their own. Amazing. Makugui showed a smile, but he didn't expect that he still has such an ability, but no matter what kind of ability, Makugui at this moment is also very serious. Besides, both Epoida and Andre were smiling, and they felt that their recovered bodies were really comfortable. But, after recovering, the group recovered their calm and looked at the people in front of them seriously, as if they were thinking about something, while Alan looked at everyone. Ha ha ha. Accompanied by this hideous and wild laughter, Alan said interestingly, "Little brats. Now give you 2 choices. Choose." Everyone looked at the situation in front of them in astonishment, as if they didn't understand what was going on, but Alan stretched out a finger and said, "You can choose to join Rock's Pirate, my words count, you join Rock's Pirate as directly an official pirate, not an apprentice pirate. 99. Second, you can choose to join Lao Tzu's command and become the second child's adopted son, so follow Lao Tzu, now. Come on, you have 10 minutes to make your choice, and let Lao Tzu see what your choice is. Alan looked at the little ghosts in front of him with interest, but wanted to see what choices these 6 little ghosts would make, or in other words, what was their final result? Whitebeard, Edward, Andre, Doma, Squard, Makuge. These people. In the original book, they are all members of the Whitebeard Pirates, some of them joined later, and some were originally a member of the Whitebeard Pirates, and later became independent. For these people, Newgate is actually don't care. Or, the brothers Alan, Newgate, and Kaido don't care. This kind of feeling is like their own children have grown up and want to go out and explore the world, don't they agree? Of course that is impossible. But even if no matter what kind of prestige you have created, aren't you still the child of Lao Tzu? This is the most fundamental reason. Because of this, Alan is very interested in looking at the 6 little devils in front of him at this moment, but he wants to see what choices these 6 little devils will make. Dad. 99. Dad. Alpoida and Makugai chose to kneel on the ground against Newgate almost without hesitation. They were both people who were rescued by Newgate inadvertently. Because of this, they joined the Rock's Pirate. For what? Goo la la la. Newgate laughed heroically, still focusing on the remaining 4 people. Dad. Daddy. 35. Squard, Doma, and Whitebeard also knelt on the ground, and the last remaining Andre, after scratching his head, also made his own choice. So far, see Circle Calendar 1484, Rock's Pirates trainee. There are only 6 people left in the pirate recruitment, and these 6 people have joined the command of the 3 Edward brothers. Goo la la la. With this heroic laughter, Newgate said proudly, sons, set sail, welcome new brothers and sisters to join. Oh hoo. With this deafening roar, everyone was very excited, and one by one began to get busy, and banquets would definitely not be rare. During the banquet, as the 6 adopted sons all printed the adopted son wine, and Newgate drank the adopted father wine, all this was settled, and the 6 of them also owned Edward's wine respectively. Surname, became a member of the Edward family. Alan, who was sitting beside him, exhaled a puff of green smoke, nodded in approval, and said yes, it's really good. This time, I met 6 little devils with good qualifications. 99. Dad. Guillaume came over and hugged Alan directly behind, and asked happily, are the 6 of them good? Alan nodded and said, it's all excellent, and it's also very good to nurture the future. 35. Whitebeard, Edward, Andre, Doma, Squard, Makuge. These 6 are actually similar to the 4 of Bagley, Namur, Ilawang, and Karma. They are basically on the same level, yes. Yes. And Bramank, these 11 people, are all one level. If taught by good people and trained hard, then growing into a naval headquarters vice admiral is not a problem. As for the higher levels, forget it. Don't think that your hard work can really reap the rewards. This is unrealistic. Everyone has their own upper limit, and also joined the Marine at the same time. Why some people are admiral, and some people are rear admiral? What about Commodore? In fact, the reason is very simple. Your aptitude is here, and it is almost impossible for you to go further. And because of this situation, you are simply helpless. No way. Your qualifications are indeed much weaker. Under such circumstances, it is natural to say no, and these little devils. Their limits are basically perfect, that is, to the level of Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral. If they can break through the limit, maybe you can go further, but breaking the limit is such an easy thing. It's just like nonsense. Besides, the qualifications of Marco, Tiger, Tezzolo, Abel, Guillaume, and these 5 little devils belong to one batch, that is, as long as the appropriate devil fruit is eaten, and then cultivated well, it is basically stable admiral grade level. Finally, Jose, Bista, Jinbei, these 3 little devils belong to a batch, grow well, start steadily, and belong to the alternate admiral level in the future. 66. Alan rubbed his chin, thought for a while, and said secretly, actually. For the current power, as long as time goes by, it can grow up perfectly, which is not bad. 99. Nodding secretly, the people under the 3 Edward brothers are already very good. First of all, there are ordinary little boys. There are about 1,000 people, and all of them have good qualifications. X. Led by Bagley, Namur, Irwin, Karma, Bramank, Whitebeard, Edward, Andre, Doma, Squard, Makugai, 11 people, each all of them are at the level of Vice Admiral of the headquarters. As long as they grow up with time, can they reach this level? Just kidding. Do you think Alan is a dry eater? Taking Jose, Jinbei and Bista as examples, they basically grew up well, and they were all at the level of backup admiral. Taking Tiger, Marco, Tezzolo, Abel, Guillaume, these 5 little guys is the foundation. The future will be admiral level. Take a closer look. In fact, the little devils under the 3 Edward brothers, one by one they are all gradually showing their fangs. They only need to grow gradually. With a step-by-step growth, they can show their full strength. This is the most satisfying thing. Alan nodded, thinking that it was still very good, and said secretly, in general. These little devils are all good, and, in the future, they can conquer other people, Quinn, Jack, and teach, those 16 people. The captain of the squad. And. Alan pondered secretly, and said it undeniably. He has thought a lot about himself, and wants to form the world's most powerful pirate group and become the world's strongest. Then don't hesitate, but show your strength to come. Alan squinted his eyes and said secretly, Wano Kuni. This place is also a good place, if you can. Humph. 35. A smile appeared, but Alan had an idea. Inside Wano Kuni, there were also some aptitudes for penultimate kids, such as the Red Sheath 9 heroes. All of these people have a good level, if they can be brought under control if. Of course no more words needed. 0. For flowers. Alan nodded knowingly. Kaido looked at this scene and asked strangely, Big brother. What are you thinking? Alan said. I was just thinking about the Wano Kuni place. This place is good, I have the idea to take this place. What? Kaido was stunned and asked strangely, what's so good about this place in Wano Kuni? 6695. When everyone heard the conversation between Alan and Kaido, they turned their heads and looked at them curiously, not knowing what the situation was. Alan explained. Wano Kuni has very good craftsmen, and the weapons made by these craftsmen can be compared to famous knives, even big sharp knives, and the craftsmen of Wano Kuni can make weapons with very high precision, exceeding many on the market, plus some others, such as seastone. Wait. Alan thought. Then, that's it, let's attack Wano Kuni directly. 66.99. 5. One of the people is very confused, what is it really thinking about? This situation is really quite embarrassing. That what? Brother. Newgate just rubbed his chin and said. I know Wano Kuni, according to our strength, attacking Wano Kuni should not be a problem. But there is also a problem within Wano Kuni. Those guys are very stubborn, know if there is a way to conquer it, then everything is meaningless. 99. Indeed. Just like what Newgate said, Wano Kuni is a place that is easy to defend and difficult to attack, and it is almost impossible to enter it, because of this. Many times, for outsiders, even if it is 10 times, 100 times the troops were unable to enter Wano Kuni. This is not a strange thing. Wano Kuni, which is called an iron wall, can definitely be described in this way. Not to mention the special terrain of Wano Kuni, it is just the terrifying violent storm outside Wano Kuni, and the bad weather that runs through the world is not ordinary people can enter it. But in the eyes of the three Edward brothers, these are simply not worth mentioning. It is absolutely undoubted that Alan's ability to kill in, as long as you enter it, the three Edward brothers can hang the entire Wano Kuni up and fight. Although Wano Kuni, Elbaf Giant Kingdom, and Atom Kingdom are called the three superpowers of New World. But the strength level of these three countries, seriously. The water is still very large, especially Wano Kuni. But these guys in Wano Kuni are a group of very stubborn people. If they are ruled by outsiders, they will fight like crazy. You don't want to see Kurozumi's dark rule, but he is a Wano Kuni man. If you let Kaido come up and rule directly, try it. These people are desperately resisting. This is the fundamental reason. They believe in righteousness, no matter what. Kurozumi Orochi is the appointed new general. So, these are the problems. Alan frowned, but thoughtfully said, it's really a troublesome thing. However, Wano Kuni's situation is indeed good, we can consider finding someone to cooperate. In this way, we can control Wano Kuni, and we only need to get the benefits. Quote. This idea is actually similar to what Kaido does, if the only difference is that the Edward brothers are more powerful than the Beast's pirates in the original book. After all, the three Edward brothers are now equivalent to the Whitebeard Pirates plus Beast's pirates plus a lot of monsters. Under such circumstances, it is naturally even more terrifying in terms of strength. Big brother. Don't say it. Kaido agrees very much. According to what you said, Wano Kuni is really a good place, if you occupy it. No, it's not interesting to occupy it, we don't need such a site, we just need to loot the treasure inside. 39. Alan nods in agreement. Just kidding, it's a treasure. It's definitely not a problem to scavenge. By the way, besides, Wano Kuni seems to have Pluton's place. This is not ancient one of the three weapons. Although it is said, Alan is not particularly interested in this, but getting it in his own hands is always better than other people's hands. There is no doubt about it. Alan was very interested in this, just when the group started to study it, as for other reasons. Stop making trouble, everyone is a pirate. I am a pirate, do I want to stand up again? No need at all. Since I'm a pirate, then don't make such a disgusting move. As a pirate, I can do whatever I want, and this is a pirate. Otherwise, I will go out to sea and be a marine directly. Is it bad? Really are. Alan is such a lunatic. P.S. 5,000 word chapter. Daily 6 updates. First update. Please subscribe. Please customize. Please collect. Chapter 116. New target. Red line. Wano Kuni. This matter is settled. After all, no matter how much you talk about it, it's meaningless. It's just a matter of research in the future. You don't need to be in a hurry. If that's the case, naturally, there is no problem. Wow, wow. As the waves rolled, Alan rubbed his chin and said, count the time, we shouldn't be back on the Black Pearl for about a year or two, right? Newgate nodded and said, brother, we haven't come back for 2 years, but it's normal, it's nothing at all, and we really don't need to come back. 99. Alan also agrees very much with this, indeed. There is nothing to do at first, and it seems that it really doesn't matter if you come back sooner or later. Soon, as the pirate ship gradually approached, the surrounding pirates greeted respectfully. Deputy Captain, Big Brother Whitebeard, 39. Brother Qinglong, all of them are well-behaved recruits. As for Bagley and Tiger, sorry, they are unacceptable. For them, they are very clear that if there is no protection from these 3 big brothers, they will be can the 2 also become cadres. That is absolutely impossible. Because of this, it is impossible to respect the 2 of them that much. And other than that, as for the other people, Alan waved his hand casually, then walked onto the Black Pearl, looked into the distance, and said boringly, Captain Rox, you are really boring. Such a thing has found our head. 35. Oh ha ha ha, Rox smiled casually, boy Alan. You are really, always have an attitude like, 887, but it doesn't matter, I have a new task here for you to deal with. 35. 35. The others will be back soon. Oh, listening to what Rox said, Alan thought it was very interesting. Is it an action of so many gatherings? This is a very interesting thing. You know, so many years, in fact, to put it bluntly. For the Rox Pirate, aside from the initial operation, and the subsequent attack on naval headquarters, the men of the Rox Pirate never really moved together. To be honest, although everyone is a Rox Pirate in name, they really rarely meet each other. They are all sailing in the new world. Everyone has their own differences. This is everyone's situation. Because of this, Alan, it is very interesting that everyone is looking for trouble together, which is very interesting. Rox looked into the distance and said interestingly, the things you need to get back this time are very important. 35. Very important stuff. Alan squinted his eyes slightly and was thinking about something. For Rox, after arriving at the position of Captain Rox, then. In fact, everything that should be owned has already been owned, and what can be called a very important thing, what is it? It's actually a very interesting thing. Gia ha 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 ha. Alan, Newgate, Kaido, you 3 guys came back quite early. With this familiar laughter, as long as you are not an idiot, you will know who the person who came back is. It is Shiki. Fell. And there are dozens of pirate ships floating in the sky. From this, it can be seen that over the years, Shiki's strength has increased to an amazing degree, even it has reached a terrifying level. Shiki. Alan looked at Shiki and said interestingly, you guy, are you still alive? Gia ha 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 ha. Shiki fell condescendingly and said sharply, even if you are dead. I won't die. Really? 35. 39. The 2 of them looked at each other, but they didn't continue to say anything. It was fine so far, and there was no need to say anything, but Alan thought it was getting more and more interesting. Just kidding, with Shiki's return, next, what will be the result? Actually, there is no doubt about this, and the next thing will be more and more interesting. Search, Alan said secretly. It's really interesting. These guys are all back, so what exactly are you trying to get your hands on this time? But it's really interesting. Captain Rox, what are you trying to do? He. A cruel smile emerged, but Alan found it more and more interesting. Even more and more hideous, it was too interesting, and in the same way, things became more and more interesting. Even though, I still don't know what's going on, but, such an interesting thing, just think about it a little to know how interesting it is. Soon, wow. Following the sound of the pirate ship sailing, one after another figure jumped up and landed on the Black Pearl. It was the 3 guys, Akoku, John, and Silver Axe. All 3 of them looked at them with interest. Everything, the corners of his mouth grinned, and his expression was very ferocious. On the other side, Alan looked at the 3 people with a smile on the corner of his mouth, and said interestingly, you 3 guys are back too. 9. Of course, Akoku said indifferently. After all, it's Captain Rock's order, if nothing else. There is probably something very worthy of attention, and naturally, he has to come back. Oh, Alan thinks it is very interesting. What will happen next? Or, what will happen? This is very interesting. Alan finds it more and more interesting. Rock's pirate has several cadres, headed by the co-captain Alan, Newgate, Shiki, Balorik, Kaido, Linlin, Akoku, John, Silver Axe, a total of 8 cadres. As for Bagley and Tiger, the 2 of them just made up the number. This is because Alan and Kaido got more silver coins and gave them to the 2 of them, purely for the sake of more and more share of the treasure every year. As for what you say the strength of the 2 of them, that is purely a little joke. The 2 sides are not on the same level. It can be said that there is no comparability at all. There is no doubt about this. But no matter what it is, one thing is certain. Things have become more and more interesting. Even when everything is in front of you, isn't it more interesting? Now, Captain Rocks actually found everyone back, and with these people returning, what do you want to do this time? Or rather, the place you want to go is probably the Red Line, right? Except for places like the Red Line, which, presumably, no one would ever go to, Alan found it more and more interesting. He. The smile was very strong. Alan looked at Linlin who came back with the long bread, and Barorik who galloped across the sky and then fell down. All of a sudden, now that everyone has returned, then it is time to discuss these next. Oh ha, everyone. Since everyone is back, come with Laozi. Rocks took the people to the depths of the Black Pearl, although it was said. No need to doubt, it can be said without joking that among the Rocks pirate, there are definitely people who have marine, there is no doubt about it. Thing. Even say, that's a no doubt thing, no kidding. It's a real fact, after all. What's going on at Rocks Pirate? It's a no-brainer. And a place like this would be the weirdest thing to do without Marine SWORD troops. As an espionage organization, the Sword Unit will definitely send people into places like Rocks Pirate, and in the future. Alan has always been suspicious that although Drake is the captain of the Sword Unit, he is only a team captain, and this real who is the commander-in-chief. Actually, I must think about it for a while, and it seems that I know it. Except for that man, it seems that no one is more suitable, that is, the man named Aokiji Kuzan. He seems to be the most suitable thing. Thinking about it a little bit, it is indeed very suitable, and if so, Marine's plan to clean up the four emperors seems to be a matter of course. Undercover Beasts Pirates, Summit War eradicate the Whitebeard Pirates, let people join the Blackbeard Pirates, and finally. Only the Big Mom Pirates are left, but I didn't expect it. The world has changed so quickly. Even though the Blackbeard Pirates replaced the Whitebeard Pirates and immediately thought of a solution, but what about the follow-up situation? It still needs to be thought about. Many things are really not as simple as they seem. In this chaotic era, it is indeed very intractable. But Alan retracted his divergent thinking. These are all things in the future. Does it have anything to do with Laozi now? Joke. Alan didn't take it in his eyes at all, just looked at everything in front of him indifferently. His expression was filled with indifference. In the study, he sat down directly on the sofa, while others were sitting or standing. And Tiger and Bagley also came to this room, there is no way. The two of them are cadres no matter what. 0. Standing behind Alan at this moment, a picture of us being bodyguards, nothing of interest at all. Woo. Rocks, who was holding a cigar, had a terrifying light in his eyes, and said unceremoniously, "Little brats. I don't need to say more nonsense. I don't like nonsense at all, just say it directly. Your next mission." 66.39. The crowd didn't say anything, they just listened quietly, after all. It's good to listen to discussing what is meaningless. They are also curious. Next, what is their mission? This is the most interesting matter. Rocks continued. Above the red line, the Holy Land Mariajoy has a permanent pointer, and all I need is this permanent pointer, to bring this permanent pointer back to Laozi. What? 35. F*K. The people present, placed on the sea, are definitely big figures with extremely high identities. At this moment, their eyes widened in disbelief, and each one was full of disbelief. The thing is that I never imagined that it would turn out like this. Isn't it obvious enough? Of course not. Now, anyone who wasn't an idiot could understand what Captain Rocks meant. That is to attack the Red Line. This is definitely no joke. Where? But Red Line. You actually want to attack the Red Line. Isn't this a joke? It's like doing it to death. After so many years, 800 years have passed, no one has ever dared to attack the Red Line, and the Red Line is the most terrifying place in the world. This is where the monster that has ruled the world for 800 years is located. Place. And in a place like this, now that Captain Rocks wants to take a shot at Red Line. It's like crazy, but it seems understandable if you think about it a little, after all. Captain Rocks is such a character, what he wants to do, it must be impossible to do some other things to change. The corner of Alan's mouth twitched, and the whole person looked extremely ferocious, even cruel. It's interesting. It's really interesting. I think it's getting more and more interesting. Captain Rocks, then, what are you going to do next? What to do, or rather, if you want to attack the Red Line, you don't just want to attack. Alan thinks it's very interesting. No kidding, this is a real fact. If you want to attack the Red Line, you can just close your eyes and rush to it. That's really the F*K head to open for you and kill you directly. It's like a joke. If the Red Line is really so easy to get up, that's the most nonsense thing. But Red Line. Oh ha. Of course not. Rock's eyes were sharp enough, and filled with endless killing intent. He looked around and said sharply, "Little brats. I have made all the preparations, you 5.9s just need to accept my orders." In an instant, everyone knows, this time it's no joke, if you don't take Captain Rock's orders, then what's the price you'll pay? Actually, this is a self-evident thing, and even it will be the price of death is not an exaggeration. Don't think that many times, Captain Rocks is very talkative. Then at this time, he is also very talkative. Not kidding, Captain Rox is definitely very dangerous at this time. If you dare to refuse, you will die here now. Ha ha ha. Alan smiled interestingly. No problem. No problem. Captain Rox, you've made me interested. Both Newgate and Kaido proudly put their arms around their chests. Since the eldest brother said so, of course there is no objection. As for Beloric, he nodded casually. He was very calm. For Beloric, there was nothing in this world that he dared not sit on, or rather, everything was ignored. As for Shiki and Linlin, they are very casual, after all. These two guys are real lunatics. What are these lunatics going to do? In fact, it is self-evident. At last, his eyes were set on Akoku, John, Silver Axe, and the alliance of the three, and Rox had narrowed his eyes slightly, and the killing intent had already emerged. It can be said without a joke. The current Captain Rox, but not the slightest, just kidding, if these three dare to think otherwise. Hee. Then it will definitely not be merciless, but will shoot instantly. P.S. 5,000 word chapter. Daily 6 updates. Second update. Please subscribe. Please customize. Please collect. Chapter 117. Operation Rox Pirate, split into 2. Alan narrowed his eyes slightly, thinking about it. Brother. What? Alan raised his head and looked at the appearance of the second and third children, but he pushed the two of them away and complained, "You two, stay away from me." Really? Big brother. Kaido scratched his head and asked strangely, "You said, what exactly is Captain Rox doing this time? Is it just to point permanently?" Alan nodded and said, "This is not a strange thing, just like I said, Captain Rox wants to find the Valley of the Gods." But the Valley of the Gods, have you heard of this place? No one has heard of it. No one knows where the Valley of the Gods is. If there is no accident, this permanent pointer is the permanent pointer to the Valley of the Gods. Both Newgate and Kaido nodded knowingly, and if that's the case, then everything is quite reasonable, and basically there won't be any problems. Alan continued. That's why. There is no need to say anything more about this matter. It doesn't have much meaning in the first place. What we need to consider is that in this action, we can get higher gain, and beyond that, everything else is meaningless. Of course, in every way, Alan is right about these things. No matter what it is, it must be done, if so. Then it's pointless to think about so many things, then. It's do it again and you're done. The two brothers nodded. Kaido and Newgate both looked at Alan. Alan said, "Second, you follow Captain Rox. The third, you and I will go to the Red Line. This time the number of people going to the Red Line is different. There will be too many. You, me, plus Baroric, Akoku 4 people is the limit." Worororo. Big brother. 35. No problem. Kaido gave a thumbs up, but full of absolute confidence, "Just kidding. Isn't it just going to the Red Line? Small problem. Small problem. It's just a small problem. It doesn't need to be taken seriously." Anyway, Kaido has absolute confidence. In fact, Alan has also carefully analyzed that Newgate's strength is definitely a little stronger than Kaido 06, but there is more or less a problem, that is, whether it is the second child, how powerful is the power? 18. There is no way for the second child to leave the battlefield at any time. If it is delayed, it will be troublesome. Therefore, this matter is the most difficult thing to deal with, and the third child is different. If there is a problem, the incarnation of Qinglong will turn around and leave, and there will be no problems. Because of this matter, it is better to let the third child handle it, and the second child is not the right thing to do. Wu slightly let out a sigh of turbidity. Alan's expression was very calm. He thought about a lot of questions, and continued, "No matter what. This time the action can't be careless. This matter, if you are not careful, it is true, will die." Is Alan afraid of dying? Do not. Alan is not afraid of death at all, or rather, Alan does not care how death is at all, because the owner of the dog spell cannot die at all, but these two brothers and other puppies in his family are not at all. These people, they are all mortal. You need to arrange everything yourself. After all, if something goes wrong, then it is trouble. The two brothers nodded earnestly. They are also very clear about the importance of this matter. They know, if they are too careless, there will definitely be problems. Because of this matter is absolutely not able to care. Alan also thought seriously. Besides, second child, this time, everyone except you is sent back. Don't let Bagley and Tiger participate in this action. 35. Big brother. 35. I see. Newgate was also stunned when he heard the elder brother's arrangement, but after thinking for a while, he immediately understood what it meant, obviously. I'm not kidding, if all these little devils were involved in this matter, but not a good thing. Fight hard. Effort. Desperately. These are all possible. These little devils also need to grow up, but this time, such a dangerous task is not something they can touch at all. Instead of taking them to death, it is better to let them stop here. Important. After all, some things are like that, and if this continues, the problem is just getting harder and harder to deal with. Seeing that the two stinky boys understood what he meant, Alan nodded calmly, thought for a while, and continued. Besides others, anyway, no matter what, the second one must be careful. That's it. 35. Goo la la la. Newgate laughed and said, brother. You can rest assured, I am not an idiot, and it is impossible for me to do such a fool-like thing. If that's the case, I will be very embarrassed. Humph. 35. Alan looked at Newgate and smiled. All in all, be careful. Don't have any problems. Even though Alan didn't say much, but as a brother's concern is undeniable, it can be said. Or, no joke, this time Rock's Pirates action is very huge, and the main battlefield is not in the New World, but on the Grand Line. If there was a problem, it would be really troublesome, and Alan was thinking about something. However, this is Captain Rock's after all, so basically there will be no problems. But, in addition, on the other side, in addition to the second child, the third child's followers are also very dangerous, after all. It is the red line that I am waiting for the 4 people to go to. Where is the most dangerous place, if one is not careful if so? That will be the real price of life. Can't you say that you can guarantee that you will not be in any danger when you go to the red line? Stop making trouble. That is absolutely impossible, even to say. This is absolutely impossible, the level of danger of the red line, as long as not all idiots are very clear that this is absolutely impossible. Woo. Standing up, Alan let out a suffocating breath and said sharply, no matter what. Everything has ended here, and because of this, everyone is better prepared, this time. Absolutely. Don't have any surprises. Goo la la la. Worororo. The 2 younger brothers are laughing, of course there is no possibility of any problems. Just kidding, they are all arrogant, could there be problems here? Impossible. How could it be in this if there is a problem in the place, that is something they cannot accept. With a smile on the corner of Alan's mouth, he also quietly looked into the distance, his eyes were sharp, and he said secretly, no matter what. Everything is in front of you. Next, let me take a look. How is everything? Humph. A cruel killing intent emerged from the corner of his mouth, Alan's eyes became very terrifying, and he was very clear. Everything will become very interesting. In that case, let yourself take a look now. What will happen to the rest? He. A faint smile, Alan waited quietly, without the slightest fear. Because it doesn't matter at all, no matter what happens next, in fact. Everything is in front of you, it's not worth it at all, just mention it. Wow. With the Black Pearl as the center, a large number of pirate ships galloped into the distance, and the speed of each pirate ship was extremely fast, and what was the result of such an action? In fact, it is self-evident. This is Rock's pirate. In addition to shooting naval headquarters back then, now this Rock's D. Zebek. This terrifying monster has once again personally led someone to shoot. What do you want to do? This is the most terrifying thing, no one knows what will happen next. And such a result is the most terrifying thing. Of course, no matter what the result is, or in other words, in this process, what kind of things will continue to happen, it doesn't really matter, because the whole world has become dignified, and the whole world is staring at looking at everything in front of you, you don't dare to be careless at all. Be careful, you don't dare to be careless. And with the departure of these people, then, Gollum. A submarine emerges from the deep sea, and submarines also exist in this world. However, it is not an easy thing to build a submarine in this world, or even extremely difficult, except for very few except for the shipbuilders, basically no one can build them. Even say, those who can build are all located in the capital of 7 Waters, which is known as the world's shipyard, and that's why. There are very few people who can build submarines, and there are very few submarines on the sea, but yes, one question is, this is the Rock's pirate. According to the strength of the Rock's pirate, it seems to be a matter of course to have a submarine, right? Exactly. It's a matter of course, and because of that, there's no need to doubt it at all. Gollum. As the submarine emerged, the 4 figures were located in the submarine. Barorik was sitting in it, and he was not interested in what happened next, while Akoku was very indifferent with his beard. Kaido took he drank casually with a wine gourd, a very indifferent look. Alan said casually, the next step is to prepare for action, you don't need to do anything more. Wait until the war on Captain Rock's side starts, then. Everything is up to you, or in other words, you just need to. It's okay to create riots. No problem. Good. 99. Brother, don't worry. 35. All 3 have no opinion on this. Also, this is an opportunity, and if possible, taking a lot of treasure is the best thing, isn't it? You know, this time it was the Red Line who attacked, if there is a chance. Then you can get a lot of gold and silver treasures and even precious treasures, this is the most important thing. That place, if you give up. That's the strangest thing. Only, no matter what, when everyone is thinking, Alan is quietly thinking about something, and secretly said, this permanent pointer. It's just that I don't know if I can get other treasures. When the time comes, take a look. Alan thought to himself, after all, where is the red line? And in the red line, if you're not serious enough, or if you don't want to make a fortune, it's the strangest thing, and it's not a strange thing. After all, there must be a lot of gold and silver treasures in places like the red line. Originally, the most suitable candidates for the red line should be Alan, Kaido, Barorik, and Shiki. All of them have the ability to fly, and they want to leave. It's a matter of course. Only things that need Shiki to be in charge of on the other side, after all. This is not a strange thing. Many places need to be handled by people, otherwise. How to cross the red line is very important. Ah yes. It is worth mentioning that Linlin also has the ability to fly, but the problem is. This is a crazy woman who will not obey orders at all, and in this kind of action, if you are not obedient, then it is almost meaningless. Because of this, Linlin was expelled directly, and he was simply an unsuitable candidate. Wow, wow, with the waves tossing. Newgate, on the other hand, was standing on the pirate ship holding Kong Yunchi. His eyes were unusually sharp, and he said solemnly, Tiger. Have you arranged everyone? 35. Dad, 99. Tiger stood aside and said, everyone has been arranged, you can rest assured. There will definitely be no problems. 55. Newgate nodded solemnly. This time he arranged for everyone to leave, and Tiger, as a murloc, can go directly into the deep sea, so he doesn't need to care at all, after all. I hide directly in the deep sea, you looking for more trouble. It's just like a joke. Therefore, Tiger is a follower of Newgate, and Newgate continued. This time the action can be said to be very dangerous, for you little guys. It is too difficult, you must be careful. Ha ha ha, Tiger smiled and scratched his head. Dad, you can rest assured, everything must be ready. There won't be any problems. You're already prepared for these, and there will be absolutely no problems. Listening to Tiger's assurance, Newgate nodded and said, these things. As long as there are no problems, of course it's the best thing. Other than that. Thinking about many situations, Newgate continued, besides. Everything else should be vigilant, no matter what. Don't let problems arise, this time will be very dangerous for this sea. If the situation is not handled properly, the whole sea will be in chaos immediately. Dad, Tiger shook his head and said, I think everything has begun to be chaotic, what Captain Rox has done, and we will not let our guard down, Dad. You can rest assured, everything is in order. It will be ready, absolutely. Absolutely. There will be no problems. Seeing Tiger's arrogance, Newgate also laughed and nodded and said, that's right. That's right, brat, work hard for Laozi. If you want to protect the Fishmen Island, then you have to show enough strength. If not, with such strength, can you protect the Fishmen Island? I see, Daddy. Tiger clenched his fists earnestly, grinned and smiled. He is also very confident. It is undeniable. Tiger, as a member of the Fishmen Island, although he is Edward's son, I also want to protect the Fishmen Island, and this is what Tiger needs to show enough strength, otherwise. It's so easy there. P.S. 5,000 word chapter. Daily 6 updates. Third update. Please subscribe. Please customize. Please collect.